Restaurant manager Matthew Jones and his sister, 32-year-old nurse's aide Dawn Jones, are suing Dawn's ex-boyfriend, 28-year-old armored truck driver James Callahan, for the return of a car. James is countersuing for a stolen gun.
Come to order. All rise. This is case number 585 on the calendar in the matter of Jones versus Callahan. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
All right, this case is a little complicated, so let me go through the facts as I understand them. This is your brother?
Yes, ma'am.
For some reason which is unimportant at this moment, you went to jail.
Yes, ma'am.
And you had a car.
Yes.
The car was towed when
Yes,
you were
ma'am.
incarcerated. According to the complaint, your sister, who had formerly dated the defendant,
Yeah.
asked the defendant if he would pay the towing charges on the car and the impound fees on the car, and that when your brother got out of jail, he would repay him and he would give him the car back.
Yes.
Your brother got out of jail, and the defendant... Stop playing with your papers. Pay attention, because
Sorry.
maybe I'm getting something wrong. Your brother got out of jail, and the defendant, according to you, refuses to return the car.
Yes, ma'am. He refused to return any phone calls.
The defendant says that he did return the car, and he is counterclaiming. He says that you, Mr. Jones, stole a gun that belonged to him, and that you, Miss Jones, have a large screen television set that belongs to him in your home. Is that right?
That is correct.
And you want to be reimbursed for the towing fees that you paid for his car, right?
Correct.
Okay. Do you understand that?
No, but I'm waiting to see it unfold.
Okay. Well, I tried to simplify it. It was really very... Okay. When did you go to jail, sir?
November 1st of 2001.
How long were you there?
I was there for 4 months.
Okay. And you called the defendant. Were you still dating at the time?
Yes, we were.
What did you say to him?
I asked him if he would get the car out of impound for me because I could not afford it, and that we would pay it back as soon as my brother was released from jail.
And what did he say?
He said, fine.
How much were the impound fees?
$538.
Now you tell me your version of the conversation that you had with her about getting the car out of impound.
She explained to me that while her brother was in jail, that I'd be able to get the car out in impound in place of the stolen gun.
No. Look at me. Look right here. She called you and said what?
She called me and told me there's a note here saying her brother will give you the car because of the stolen gun. So I said, well, okay, I'll accept
I
that
don't
offer.
agree with that.
Just a second. Who has this note? Do you have the note?
Actually, she has the note.
You have the note?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me see it, please.
This is the contract we had on the car. He refused to sign it because he
Just
said
a second. Okay. Well, nobody signed this, and this doesn't say anything about a gun. What about this gun?
There was a gun that he claims was stolen out of my house. I have 2 minor children, this being one of them. My daughter is 2 years old. I had asked him numerous times not to bring a gun into my house.
Yes.
We went to visit my friend in the hospital, and when we came back, he told me that his gun was stolen out of my house, and I didn't even know it was still in there. I had told him over and over again not to leave a gun in my house with my minor children. So I don't really know what happened to the gun.
You said you saw a note where Mr. Jones here confessed to having stolen your gun?
Yeah, actually, it was in one of his letters that he sent while he was in jail.
Well, where is the letter?
Actually, she has it.
You have a letter?
I don't have any with me. I have just...
Did you get a letter from your brother with regard to a stolen gun?
My brother sent me a letter saying if it was possible for me to please get out his car out of impound fees, he didn't care what I had to do it, to just get it out. I told him then I would ask Jimmy to get the car out of impound for me, and that when Matt got released from jail that he would then pay for the car because I didn't want anything to do
I
with it.
have that information. I'm asking you about a note with regard to his confessing that he stole a gun.
No, ma'am.
Did you take his gun?
No, I didn't. I have talked to numerous detectives as well in this case, and they acquitted me of the charges, and they don't feel that I've taken it, so...
Taken it.
Taken it. Sorry.
Detectives don't acquit you. They just have to have evidence in order to
They drop
arrest
the case.
They dropped the
In any
case.
event, there's no proof that he took the gun.
Exactly.
Sounds logical to me, sir, very logical to me, that your girlfriend would call and ask you to do this for her, and that you would return the car. But your defense is that you returned the car. Tell me about that.
Actually, on January 8th, she gave me a call, threatened me, saying that if I don't return the car within a couple days, that her and her brother would come looking after me. That weekend on the
I don't agree with that
on the
either.
12th,
Don't speak unless I'm looking at you.
that weekend on the 12th, I told one of my friends to help escort me to drop off this VW Jetta to Don Marie's residence. So eventually, He drove his Toyota, and I drove the Jetta to her house. We dropped off the keys in the mailbox, which is in front of her doorway. And for the reason I did not make contact to her, she has filed a stalking charge on me prior to these occasions.
Okay. Did you report the car stolen?
No, they told us we had to take it to small claims court and get it back.
He doesn't have it.
But he did have it, and he had it at the time, and he had never dropped it off to my house.
How do you
ever.
know that?
Because if I'm not home, somebody else is there.
I don't know whether somebody else is there or not. He doesn't have the car. And he certainly can't use the car because he doesn't have any proof of ownership. He can't have it insured. So I suggest you call and report the car stolen because he doesn't have it. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. Perfect. Now, you can have the car back, but you still owe him some money because he got the car out of impound. You promised to pay him back. Why
Yes.
didn't you pay him back?
We've made a number of chances to try and contact him. In the stalking order that he was suggesting, I went with her to the court. We ended up dropping the stalking order, saying we just want the car back, then we can all go our own separate ways. He refused to contact us. He refused to call us. He says that he's not doing the deal no more. We have the money, and we've offered to pay him several times.
Well, he certainly can't sell the car without a certificate of title, which leads me to believe that unless he's just merely being vindictive and dumped it in a lake or something, which I have no proof of, that it has absolutely no value to him whatsoever.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dawn Jones says ex-boyfriend James Callahan refuses to return her brother's car. Dawn says when her brother Matthew was arrested, James got the car out of impound and never gave it back.
Okay. Now tell me about this big screen TV.
All right, I have the receipt here. On 10/8/01, I went down to Circuit City with her son to purchase a TV. For the reason is our TV that she had at the time was not reasonable. So we eventually purchased a 27-inch flat screen Panasonic TV. I do have other things in her house, and I could not receive that. I couldn't bring that.
Just a minute. We're not there yet. The TV that she had was not a good one, so you went with her son and bought a TV and brought it to her house.
Correct.
What makes you think this is your TV?
I actually purchased it.
I don't care if you purchased it. If you purchased it and made a gift to her, then it's not yours. I don't care if you purchased it. All right, let me hear your version of the TV.
Thank you, okay. He was liking to flash money around everywhere he went. He was flashing money in my face. He also was giving me
TV.
several gifts, okay? He gave me the TV. He put it in my name. I have the receipt.
I want you to tell me.
He left the house one day. He came back with this huge TV, and I said, what are you doing? I cannot pay you for this TV. He said, don't worry, Marie, it's a gift. You can have it. I'm not going to take it from you or your kids. Here's my son, who was with him
receipt,
when he went to the shopping.
Let me see the receipt.
Those are receipts for everything he's countersuing me for.
No, I'm not interested in everything. I'm just interested in the TV.
All right.
Sold to Dawn Jones.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, when you give a gift, you don't take it back, sir. The relationship didn't work out. It doesn't mean you get the TV back. What you do get back is the $538 that you laid out for the towing fees for the VW. That's what you get back. Period. You go to the police and take care of your car.
Will do.
Good. Have I resolved that? Did you understand it?
I understood it perfectly.
Perfect. Thank you. Goodbye. Have a happy life.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I don't know what his problem is, but he is severely mental.
There are certain times where if you're really nice, you let your guard down, people will, intend to take advantage of that.
He broke into my house and woke me up while I was sleeping, doing nasty things.
She's in distress right now, and she's trying to, make me look bad.
He's psycho. He's psycho.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Bullock versus Green. Step forward, please.
25-year-old student Corus Bullock is suing former friend, 25-year-old student Ernest Green, for breaking his windshield in a drunken fit.
Mr. Bullock, the defendant is or was a friend or acquaintance of yours, and according to your complaint, you gave him a ride home from someplace when he was drunk. He went crazy in your car and did damage to the windshield of your car. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so tell me when this happened.
On January 19th, it was a Monday, it was, because of the Martin Luther King event that was going on in St. Pete, Florida.
Okay, tell me how it came to be that he was in your car.
It came to be because I gave Mr. Green a call that evening asking him what he was doing for that day, because I had just met Mr. Green probably about a week before that. And he was like, give me a call sometime and, we'll hang out or whatever. So I gave him a call and I asked him, what he was doing for that day, and he was telling me about the event that was going on in St. Pete. So I asked him, would he like to go? And he was like, yes, we can go down there.
Okay. And was he drinking?
Return any phone calls.
Where was your son at this time?
He was there.
There where?
About 5 miles away, and he came over 2 and 3 times a week and spent quite a deal of time with Tasha.
Why wouldn't you call your son and tell him that she had some medical bills?
I called both, and he did end up giving me money.
Okay.
Total of, in the 7 months Tasha lived there, he gave me out-of-pocket money, $700.
He gave you directly
Yes.
$700, and she gave you $270?
Yes. And
Did she give you any more than $270?
never.
Now, you say the child support at some point became frozen. When did that child support become frozen?
It started on February the 1st. I just simply asked the question to my son, do you have to pay child support money to a child that no longer resides at that address? And he at that point didn't even know the answer, so he called his caseworker and asked. And I guess that's what started it rolling. And then a notarized letter from Deborah on 2/20 states that the child was residing with me, and they just, after having heard from both parents, just froze the money.
And so the money kept coming in.
Kept coming in, but was not going, and to this day has never been released. There was, on October the 17th, there was a court hearing. And to my knowledge, what money was supposed to have been frozen while Tasha was in my care was supposed to be, according to this paperwork, turned over to me. But as of today, I've not received one dime.
Well, but you will be receiving.
According to the child
Let me
support...
see the- let me see the
sure.
paper
Let me
that
flip
you
down
have.
to that. According to what they have told us, there's no dollar figure there, but from what I've been told, there's supposed to be somewhere around $600 that Tasha was actually entitled to.
The impounded funds shall be released to Jean Stenger. That's you.
That's right.
So you will be getting that money.
At least the $600, yes.
Okay. Now, is there any discrepancy in what your mother-in-law has indicated to the story that you would tell me?
Yes, absolutely, Judge.
Let me hear.
I did correspond with Jean on taking some family intervention with my daughter. When Jean volunteered to take Tasha, there was no monies per se as an amount to keep her. I did tell Jean, providing that I did receive her father's child support, that I would indeed turn that over to her. Jean is correct on stating that the child support was impounded on February 2nd. Due to the child support being impounded, it froze my other daughter's child support also. I have another daughter. So while both child supports was impounded, I had to write a letter, as Ms. Stinger said, to get the child support released.
For your other daughter?
For my other daughter. Tasha's child support was indeed impounded.
Okay.
And I could not turn over the monies to Ms. Stinger.
Do you work?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
I work at Sears and I'm at shipping.
How much money do you get for your other child for child support?
I receive $44.12 per week per child.
And how much do you earn?
I bring home about $700 every 2 weeks. But in January, I fell on my back. I was off work for 14 weeks, and I received 50% of my pay. I was bringing home $250 every 2 weeks.
Okay. Mrs. Stanger, your lawsuit seeks $3,000 from the child care expenses.
Right.
There has to be an agreement, which there clearly was not, other than the fact that she would turn over the child support payments to you.
Well, she did lead me to believe that she was going to care for the child. She didn't move her into my home with the understanding that I was going to meet all financial debt.
Right, well, you wouldn't have. She was getting $44 a week from your son.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, the $44 a week that she was getting from your son doesn't cover child care expenses, even when the child is in her care. So she have to use her income as well. She says that she was receiving half disability for a substantial part of that time.
That is correct, Your Honor, but that's not the whole story. According to all of these, this is the police reports that took place within their home. She was couldn't go back to work, according to the police reports, because she had to go to drug rehab.
That is a lie.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jean Stenger says ex-daughter-in-law Deborah Stenger owes for child support costs when her granddaughter lived with her. Deborah says she gave Jean all of her child support money.
Mrs. Stanger, whether the injury at work was drug-related or not, if she could not work for that period of time, then there was no additional money coming in.
Right.
So let me tell you what would have happened, Mrs. Stanger. She could have gone back into court and pursued additional support for Tasha from your son. Stop shaking your head, because it's a possibility. I know. I was in family court for 25 years, sir.
But he didn't have a job, so he was hurt.
That's
So you as parents pitched in and took care of your granddaughter.
Well, the only thing I incurred so much expense, number one, I had to take her back and forth to school, round trip 4 times a day, 80 miles a day. She had to have $3 a day for lunch money.
I understand that it was difficult, but that's what grandparents do.
Well, you don't mind
And
it,
you
but when
wouldn't-
you're abused.
And you wouldn't be here today, Mrs. Stanger, were your son still married to the defendant.
No.
Of course not. And you're not suing both of them. You're choosing just to sue your former daughter-in-law.
Well, I felt because she had full custody of her, and we had virtually an agreement that that's where it should go.
No, virtually an agreement is not an agreement, Mrs. Stanger.
Because I didn't have her put it in writing?
No, you said it was my understanding that. And I believe what she said to you was, I will turn over the child support payments to you. So in addition to giving you the child support payments, she also gave you a little bit of extra money, $270. But that is not an agreement. It's not an agreement that is binding in a court. So you have a son who's not working, because why?
He has a heart condition and is still under doctor's care as of today.
So?
Well, what we're saying is he was working 3 jobs and they made him quit, okay?
Made him quit all 3 jobs?
All but one. He could remain to do it because he could do it out of his own home.
So you have a son who can hardly take care of himself, and you have an ex-daughter-in-law who's got 2 children, who was really paying the lion's share of support for both children for a long time, because on $44 a week, you don't take care of a child.
That was only after, what do you want to call it? The child support was had a reduction done in it. He was actually paying $134. I have a court printout where he paid her $100,000 over the time period from the day of the divorce.
Since when?
Was actually, when were you divorced, Debbie? 87?
So you're telling me from
1987
he paid her $100,000?
Yes.
So?
Well, I'm just stating that he
So?
paid more than $44 in
What
that
I'm
time
telling
frame.
you is, so?
Oh, I understand that.
Doesn't come out to a lot of money. Sounds like a lot of money. Paid her $100,000. If you sell me, paid her $100,000 in the last 2 years, in the last 3 years for the support of 2 children, I would say. Okay, you know, man's doing his job. But since 1987,
yes, I know.
If he's paid her $100,000, that doesn't cut it for me.
How many years was it?
14 years.
What about
14, I'll figure it out what it is for you. All right, my trusty calculator. 100,000 divided by 14 divided by 12 equals $595 a month, divided by 4.3 is $138 a week, divided by 2.
No, 3.
3 at that time?
You mean she had 3 children?
Yes, in the beginning.
Well, glad you told me that. That's even less. So forget it. You got $1,500. But I have a sense that one of the reasons that you're here is because you're angry because your granddaughter left your house without so much as a goodbye, a thank you, or goodbye, I'm going back to my mother. Step up. Did you have a fight with your grandmother?
I had a few little fights.
Well, the last one. You left sometime in July. Why?
I got tired of hearing her and everybody put my mom down as she was a bad person.
And they did this to you, in front of you?
Well, they did it in their bedroom or in the living room or when I was in the room, like I was invisible, you know. It didn't matter where I was.
That's a big mistake. That's a terrible mistake. You're absolutely right.
That is not
That's
true.
not
Conversations
true.
were not held in front of
That's
the
not
child.
true.
Well, listen, may not be held in front of the child, but if they're held in a room where she can overhear them.
That didn't happen.
Well, that's what she says. What do you think happened? Why did she leave?
Number one, we got a phone call in regard back to the child support. On July 5th, they called. Debbie had kind of rapport with them, and she had been in their office on that day, and when she left, they had informed her on that day if she would get letters from both the children, they would release the funds. July 7th, Debbie started showing up at my home. Tasha was with us for 7 months. During that time frame, Debbie never one time called me or my husband and asked how the child was doing, if she was in need of anything, nothing. Like I said before, when I needed the help with the medical bills, Tasha had came to us. She had a root canal that needed to be done, an abscess on her tooth. Debbie did carry insurance, but when it came time for the insurance check to come around, the insurance company mailed it to Debbie. Debbie took the funds and cashed the check and never refunded, never paid the dentist, never. And
That's a lie.
I have the bill from the dentist.
That's not a lie. Why did that happen?
When the check came to me,
Yes. What did you do when the check came to you?
I cashed it and I bought Tasha socks, underwear, and shoes.
Wrong. Wrong.
Absolutely.
That was wrong.
Yes, it was.
So, how much was the check?
$89.10.
You owe her that. You want to buy your daughter underwear, you buy your daughter underwear.
I didn't pay that. I didn't have a root canal done. I didn't have anything done. I still
The
have
child
it.
to this day hasn't had the root canal. The infection in her tooth was so bad, they placed her on antibiotic, and I took her, as they requested, to a medical doctor. And
This
they,
is all
Well, what I'm saying to you, it was in her blood system. They said that it wasn't life-threatening yet, but it could get there. And if I hadn't got her help...
That's a dangerous situation, I'm telling you, that
and
you want to take care of that.
it was one that I got placed in the middle of.
What?
The tooth has been pulled.
The tooth has been pulled?
Yeah. Thank heaven.
Well, that's cheaper than root canal, just to pull out the tooth. Where was the tooth?
My
Wisdom's going to take her
back
place.
molar.
Didn't the dentist tell you that it would be better to do a crown and to do root canal work on a young child's mouth rather than pulling a tooth so that the whole mouth shifts? See, it pays to have a father who's a dentist. Didn't he tell you that?
Yes, ma'am, but I didn't have the $562.
Get it! Get 2 jobs. Get 5 jobs. Okay, so far I have that you owe her $89.10.
The only out-of-pocket expense as far as for debt, she needed a new book for school. For one of her classes, $27.10.
So you bought your granddaughter a book. I'm not so concerned about buying your granddaughter a book. Listen, if the reason that you left your grandmother's house is because you heard her and your grandfather saying things that were unkind about your mother, that was a tremendous mistake on their part, not on your part. But if you wanted to be a little more grown up, you would have said, I want to go home to my mother.
That's all she needed to do.
One time, and they said that I couldn't leave.
That's not true. She never.
They said that you couldn't leave. Why?
Because I lived there, and my grandfather would not let me leave.
You mean you felt like a prisoner? Is that what you felt like?
Oh.
No.
It didn't happen. I think this letter here that she wrote
Did you go out with your friends?
Explains why she left.
You never went out? In the 7 months you lived there, you never went out with friends?
Once a weekend, if that.
Fine, so you went out with your friends. Doesn't sound to me like you were a prisoner.
She went anywhere and everywhere she wanted. I seen to it she did.
Okay.
And I think this letter that she actually wrote here actually explains why she left. She thought she was going to get that money, just like I stated, from the child support, and they was going to spend it on those things.
Okay, good. She starts out with, sorry the letter's so sloppy, but dear Granny and Grandpal, I'm sorry. It's been great and all, but it was time to go home a long time ago. You don't get me or understand me. Well, that's probably true because grandparents don't get foolish teenagers. Maybe someday you will. And I know my mama's not perfect, but she is my mama and she needs my love. And I need hers. That's an honest feeling. I hope that you both know that I love you very much and I'll be back tomorrow for my things. It's not about how much you did or are doing or anything like that. It's just that nothing has changed in my heart. Your granddaughter says to you she knows she needs her mama right now.
And she should.
And that I will always have you. And she tells you what I'm getting a new job and a cell phone. She's made plans for school.
And all those plans have fallen through.
And she ends the letter by saying, I'm not dumb and you know that I will be thinking of you twice on everything. And then she says, Angel's love is always with you all. This is not a mean letter. She's just saying, it's a teenage letter, and she's saying, I love you, but I love my mama, and I have to be with my mama, and you don't really get my mama, you don't like my mama. I may not like her style, but she's my mama, and I need to be with her right now. And perhaps it could have been handled differently, Mrs. Stanger, but that's not the way it was handled.
No.
So...
No, I think that's the whole thing in a nutshell.
I got you. I understand.
Since that time, we've not heard from her at all.
Mrs. Stanger, children need the widest possible community of love and affection that they can possibly get, even when they're 18 years old. And clearly, your daughter has had a lot of ups and downs. Fair statement? Clearly, when a mother gives up physical custody of a child to someone other than a parent, it's saying that there have been problems that I can't cope with. And the fact that her grandparents said, fine, we'll try, is a testament to them. Not something that should make you angry with them if they did some foolish things while she was there by letting her little pitchers overhear conversations. That was the wrong thing to do. But basically, they had reasonable hearts because they said, you know, she's our granddaughter and we love her. Let her come and disrupt our otherwise calm household. When a teenager comes into your house, your whole house turns upside down. It never is the same. So your grandparents loved you enough to say, come live with us. And your grandmother drove you back and forth to school. It was a big drive every day.
Yeah, it was.
Could she have said to you, if you're going to live here, you have to go to school locally?
Yes.
Of course she could have. She could have said, listen, I'm not driving an hour each way to get you to and from school. I want you to live with us, but you'll have to finish high school close by our house. But she wouldn't do that because you got your friends. You wanted to finish high school where you are, so she extended herself. It's time to put a period and not be so angry, okay? Will you try?
I'm not angry.
Are you angry at her?
Oh, no. No, not angry at all.
Good. I'm glad. Your lawsuit's dismissed. That's all. Oh, except for $89.10. That you get.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Grandparents should overextend.
Mother, 48-year-old data entry clerk Brenda Sanchez, for the down payment on a car and for the return of a rifle collection. Brenda is countersuing for the return of a computer.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 223 on the calendar, in the matter of Carrillo versus Sanchez. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Mr. Carrillo, the defendant is your mother.
Yes.
How old are you?
I'm 18.
The big ticket item on your complaint is a car.
Correct.
And you say when you were 17, you purchased a car. Because you were 17, the car couldn't be in your name. It was in your mother's name. But you had taken out $5,000 from your bank account and put that down as a down payment.
Correct.
You left home, your mother kept the car, and you want your $5,000 back.
Correct.
That's the big ticket item. And then you say that there were some items of personal property that belonged to you in the house, some rifles, some rifle holders that your mother refuses to give you. And you have a counterclaim, Ms. Sanchez, against your son, because you said when he left, he took a computer that was supposed to be left there for you and his sisters.
For his sisters, for school.
So let's deal with the car first. That's the big ticket item.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, the $5,000 that's was the down payment. I have the court order that was for the money that was in the account, which was supposed to have gone to me when I turned 18. And would you like to see that?
Yes.
Altogether,
Just a minute. $7,500, at least, of the money came as a result of what, an accident?
Uh-huh.
And he was the victim of this accident. What
Right.
kind of car accident?
I sued for medical bills and
Whatever.
paid separate, yeah.
This is an inference compromise, which means that this $7,500 is his money.
And it was modified when he was 10.
Show me.
I didn't be able to get that.
Then
I'm
that's all
sorry.
I have.
Yeah, he took all the papers, a lot of court papers.
That's all I have.
Yeah.
Yes.
I had a briefcase full of documents, which include bank statements, proof that I had paid her money, and she had taken that out of the storage as well.
All right, now.
Paid me money?
Don't argue with each other, please. It's very unfortunate when a child has to be involved with a parent in a lawsuit. Where is this car now?
I have it.
How much was the total purchase price of the car?
Close to $7,000 after we financed it.
Okay. Who's been paying the notes on the car?
I have.
I had paid it until I had moved out.
How many months did you pay?
I had paid it from January until May.
So since May of this year, you've been making the payments.
And the insurance on the car.
Have you been driving the car?
Yes.
Okay, well,
Because he no longer wanted the car.
Well, the car has to go back to him. The car has to go back to him. You have the title to the car?
No, it's still financed, and the car, he didn't want the car anymore. He asked me to take over the payments. He also
No, either the car goes
stopped,
back to him, so that if he wants to, he can sell it and get his $5,000 back, as long as the note is then put in your name. Do you understand?
Correct.
I told him to go take the rest of the money back out of the bank and pay it off if he wanted it, because I found a letter stating that he was drinking. And instead of paying it off, he turned around and bought another car, because he didn't want the car. He told me that I could have it. And then from the sales from my car that I sold was going to go to him.
Is that what he told you?
Yes.
And you say that's not what?
No, I had mentioned in March that I had wanted to put the car in my name. She said no
You
because
never did that.
Don't
she
talk
said
with
no
each
because
other.
we had to refinance it, and she didn't want to go through that. Then I told her if she wanted that car, she would pay me like $4,000, and then she could have the car and take over the payment.
You're not getting any money. Let's understand this. You're either getting the car back, or your mother can sell it now, which I think is probably a good idea. And if your agreement was that she should give you $4,000 for the car, that's what you just told me.
Correct. But
I never
Just a
got
minute.
paid.
That's what you just told me. That's what you told me.
the initial agreement, and then
All right. So well, the initial agreement would probably still be valid today, because.
Well, we had never brought anything up after that. That was just something we just stated.
Do you want the car back, or do you want her to sell the car?
I'd rather have the car back.
You'd rather have
I
the
need
car?
the car.
Correct.
Just what?
I need the car.
Then pay the. Listen.
I'm paying for it.
No. You have to give him back the money. He took money out
We didn't have
his
an
account.
arrangement. He gave me the
No.
car.
Listen to me. I don't believe you.
My daughter
No. I don't
knows.
believe you that he gave you
No,
the
I was to
car
pay the loan
with
off.
with the money that he put in from his trust.
He never asked me for $4,000.
Good.
Just
Then
the
I will-
$3,000 to pay
then
the
I
loan
will
off.
draft an order indicating that within 30 days this car is to be sold and the first $4,000 is to be turned over to him. Now, with regard to the rifles, tell me about the rifles.
Okay, the rifle she had given to me about 12 years ago.
When you were 6 years old?
Yes, it was approximately then. And then I had them in my possession since about the age of 9. And she has told almost every member of the family that those were mine.
Where did they come from?
They were, I believe, our grandfathers.
Which I inherited when my parents passed away.
Tell me about the rifles. Where were they kept?
They were in my room until I had the baby, and then I told him, let's put him in your room, because he's the only one out of all my children that I trusted to have, to be, responsible, because he's a very good boy. I never ever had troubles with him. I've never had to really discipline him. And he knew that those rifles would only go to him after I passed away. I have it in my will, which he took and opened, and he wasn't.
Let me see.
Oh. She showed me the will the day she wrote it up.
It was sealed from my lawyer.
You gave me a copy, and
Just
we
a
put it
second.
in
I
the
don't care whether
Bible.
you stole it, and I just want to see whether or not what the date of this will is. This is a will dated 1999. Okay, so well before you moved out of the house.
Correct.
To my son Valentine, that's you.
Mm-hmm.
I leave 2 rifles to be given to him upon reaching the age of majority.
But I've had it in my possession ever since I was 9.
I don't care.
Only because of the baby.
I don't care. I mean, in your possession, but you lived in the same house as your mother,
Correct.
right? So until you reach majority, you have no space. She owns the air you breathe. She owns the house, she owns your room, she owns everything that's in it, unless I find that she made a clear gift to you. And this is evidence that she did not make a clear gift to you prior to 1999, as you said, when you were 6 years old, because she has disposed of this property by way of a will. When anything happens to your mother, you get the guns. I'm not losing any sleep over rifles. You have to understand that.
Fine.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Valentin Carrillo says his mother, Brenda Sanchez, owes for the down payment on a car. Valentin also claims his mom won't surrender his collection of rifles.
I've just taken care of the car and the rifles. Between the 2 of you, now let's take care of the computer. According to the answer and the counterclaim, there were 2 computers. One of them was a new one that you either assisted with or helped him purchase for himself, and the understanding was that he didn't need both computers and one was going to be left in the house. Now, you took 2 computers when you left.
Correct. The computer that she's talking about, I had actually given to my younger sister, Maria. And I had told her a week before that I was going to leave, that I was going to take the computer because I knew my mom was going to try to sell it, because that was what she wanted to do, was sell it to a friend of hers.
I would never sell it, you know that.
Just a second.
She was going to sell it to a friend of hers that was
Money
one
that
of the
would have gone
parents
to
that...
you.
I don't want to hear you fighting with him now. Where is your sister living?
She's in Mexico because she abandoned him.
I did not.
How old is your sister?
My sister is 17.
Who is she living with in Mexico?
My uncle.
My daughter, the day he moved out, he told her there is no way in that I would leave this computer for any of you guys.
Oh, no.
And she was there. He just dumped everything on the floor, and he just tore the house up.
I just want to know who you are.
I'm his older sister, her daughter.
Okay. And your 17-year-old sister was living in Mexico?
Yes.
With an uncle?
Correct.
Whose address you have?
Yes.
The second computer is going to be sent within the next 5 days to your older daughter in Mexico, who is 17.
She's not going to be in Mexico. She's coming home Saturday.
If she's coming home.
She wants to return home.
If she's coming home Saturday, you check, and if she's coming home Saturday, wherever she is, she gets the computer. Do you understand?
Yes.
Perfect. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
When he turned 18, he just all of a sudden just changed.
She should have never took her son's car. She should not take nothing from her children, but everything that she can, she takes from her children.
I hope we can get back together. I love my son very much.
She has to go through therapy or something.
And now the next case.
All parties are in the matter of Frasica versus Rivera. Step forward, please.
24-year-old nursing assistant Amanda Frasica is suing the father of her daughter, 25-year-old truck driver Jose Rivera, for the cost of an engagement ring and for unpaid bills when they lived together.
Ms. Frasica, your lawsuit has 2 parts to it. Let's take care of the easy part first. You and the defendant live together, and you have a child.
Yes, we do.
Together. And there came a time when you became engaged.
Yes.
The first part of your lawsuit says that the defendant returned your engagement ring and got the money.
He returned it without my knowledge, and once I found out, there was a big to-do about it.
That's not true.
Just a second. Well, clearly you're no longer engaged. You're no longer together.
No.
You don't get that.
Okay.
So that takes care of the first part of your lawsuit. Second part of your lawsuit says that when he left in April, he left some outstanding bills.
Yes.
What outstanding bills do you claim he owes you?
I have a phone bill, I have a cable bill, I have a credit card bill, and another calling card that I paid by the month.
What was your financial arrangement with him while you were living together?
Originally, when we were living with my parents, all the money was supposed to go into the bank. Once we moved into our apartment, the bills were supposed to be 50-50, but it never worked out that way.
Can I see the bills that you say are outstanding?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mr. Rivera, while you were together with the plaintiff, is this a credit card that you would use together?
Yes, ma'am.
You have any problem with paying for half of this bill?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Okay, that takes care of that bill. Then we have a phone bill, and you're asking him to pay for half of that.
Now I'm asking him to pay for the whole bill because, as you can see, the calls made on it were all made to his family's household. He was out of work, on the phone, calling his family. I'm at work trying to pay the bills, and no sooner was I making the money, it was being back out the window, being spent again.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, she's saying that I didn't have a job. The first job that I had on hand, she got me fired from. Second job that I had, I only had 15 hours to work. And, I mean, I just had a lot of problems going to work because of Amanda just making things difficult for me to go to work.
Like what? Like how?
Just complaining about bills not being paid and just...
So your response to that was not to work?
No, I did work. The first
No,
job...
but your response to that was not to work full-time because she was complaining about the bills?
Excuse me, Your Honor.
No, I was working full-time. I had a full-time job, which I was working as a waiter. Amanda got me fired from the job by going to the job and throwing my clothes in front of everybody. I got fired from that job.
When was that?
I don't even remember the date, when exactly it was.
What other bills do you claim he owes you?
There's the cable bill there also, which you can see. I just want the movies paid for, not the fees for the cable box or anything.
Well, what had been your history with the defendant? If he ordered movies and you got the whole bill in, did you just pay the whole bill out of a joint account?
It was said if we went over and beyond the regular cable itself, like if he wanted to get a premium channel, he would pay for it. I wasn't going to pay for it because I felt no need for it. I wasn't at home. And if we were going to order any movies beyond that, we were responsible for paying for that.
I want to tell you something. This sounds like a very convoluted financial arrangement between two people who are living together, have a child together.
Well, we had a budget written out about what our regular expenses were. If he chose to go over that, he was responsible for it. If I chose to go over it, I was responsible for it. I mean, he was pretty well provided for, and with the whole fact of him talking about me making it difficult for him to go to work. My father bought us a car. I insured it. I got it inspected. I got it put on the road. He drove it. I mean, so I didn't make it hard for him. You know, he used to drop me off at work and use the car.
When I say
and
she
after
made it
work,
hard for me to go to work, Your Honor, I mean, she used to call my job and harass me at my job.
Excuse me.
How did she call your job and harass you with your job?
I called
Mr.
his job to ask if he was there.
She, for some reason, thought that any girl who was working with me, I was cheating on her with her. I mean, and she used to call my job plenty of times to see if I was at work, or if I wasn't at work, if I was missing work, or if I was just not doing anything but at work. And
Well, were you at work?
Yes, ma'am, I was at work.
So if, listen to me. So if she called you and said, can I speak to Mr. Rivera, please? You would get on the phone. She would say, hi, how's everything, and goodbye. And that's it, because she knew you were there.
Right.
Right? But were there times, Mr. Rivera, when she called your work and you weren't there?
Whenever I left.
Were there times, Mr. Rivera, when she called your job and you weren't there?
No, ma'am, there was not.
So you were always there?
Yes, ma'am.
And what kind of work were you doing at that time?
At that time, I was waitering.
So she would call you, somebody would call you to the phone?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? She would say hello?
Yes, ma'am.
And you would say hello?
Yes, ma'am.
And what would she say to you?
She was just making sure that I was at work.
Well, that's not what she said. She said, I'm not making sure that you're at work, because that's not what women do when they call to see if their husbands or their fiancés are where they're supposed to be. Shh. They usually just say, hi, thinking about you, bye. He's where he's supposed to be. That's what usually happens. That's not harassment. Harassment is if she comes down to your place of business and she throws a scene because you're not there, she waits for you.
She did do that.
You want to tell me about when she threw a scene,
She,
sir?
I got off of work one morning. I went home and I found my bags all packed up, and I left the house. That same night, I
Well,
was
was
at
that a
work.
surprise to you, Mr. Rivera?
Was that a what?
Was that a surprise
A surprise to me? Yes, it came to a shock to me when I came home and all my bags were packed.
You mean you left to go to work the day before or the evening before, and everything was hunky-dory between
Everything
the two?
was fine.
Everything was fine.
I come home the next day, everything is packed up, so I'm thinking she wants me to go. I left that same night.
You mean you didn't ask her why?
No, I didn't ask her why because there was no one home. Like I said, I came home, all my bags were packed. I took it to myself, saying that she wants me to leave, so I left.
Okay.
That same night, she comes into my work with the rest of my clothes in the restaurant in front of my customers, co-workers, and management, and just drops everything in front of everybody. Just.
All right, just because I'm curious, tell me about this little thing from.
Ooh, tell you the real half here. He, I would call his work, and they'd be like, "He's not here. I just dropped him off there." Well, he's not here. Well, where is he? He left with so and so, which happened to be a female. And I started hearing stories, and I started thinking. I'd call his work, and I'd speak with a manager, which I was somewhat friendly with, and he'd be like, "He left 2 hours ago."
Okay, so when did you pack his bag?
It got to the point that I said he started smoking. There was an incident when he smoked marijuana at my parents' house. My parents are totally against it. My parents opened up the household to both of us. So I hit the roof. And then between that and him not being at work, me thinking he's cheating on me for obvious reasons, I turned around, and that was my only way to let him know I was serious.
Go ahead.
Well, I had no way to reach him for about a week or two, and I said, "You still have belongings here, you need to get them out." And the only contact place I had was his work. So it was the end of shift, it was about 15 minutes before he got out of work, and I turned around and I said, "You don't want to call me back, and I have no way of contacting you." I had all his items packed up, I didn't just throw them. I went into the lobby, and I said, "Here's your stuff." And he came at me with a fit, came at me out the door. I thought he was going to hit me. My mom was there in the car because she had driven me. She didn't know what was going to happen. I got in the car and I left.
All right. Since you left in April, have you been paying any child support for your daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
You pay that through the court?
Yes, ma'am.
How much do you pay?
$87.50 a week.
Okay. Total, $747. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He broke off the relationship. He says that he did break off the relationship. Any money that you gave him during the relationship were gifts because you cared for him. He needed the money. That's what people do, care for each other. They help each other out. And the only time it became a loan was when he broke up with you. Is that your defense, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you, Mr. Emerson?
30 years old.
Ever been married?
Yes, ma'am.
How many times?
Just once.
When and for how long?
I was married when I was 20 for 9 years.
You have children?
2.
How old are your children?
9 and 10.
Do you see them?
Almost every day.
So you're a good father.
I try to be, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Emerson?
I work for the railroad.
And how long have you worked for the railroad?
6.5 years.
Pay child support?
Yes, ma'am.
What about you, Miss Price? How old are you?
32.
Ever been married?
Yes.
When and for how long?
2000 until 2005.
Have any children?
2.
How old are they?
5 and 13.
Do you work?
I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm self-employed hairstylist.
Children see their father?
Yes.
Do you pay child support?
He's disabled, so they get Social Security.
And your former wife, sir, what does she do?
She has an in-home daycare.
So it would be a fair statement, Mr. Emerson, to say that both of these families are sort of struggling to make ends meet financially. That be a fair statement?
I wouldn't say that I'm struggling, nor would I say she's struggling at all.
Really?
That's correct.
You think there's plenty of money to go around?
I do.
Then why would you take money from her, Mr. Emerson?
I didn't take any money.
No, listen to me, sir.
Oh.
You did take money from her. Whether it's a gift or a loan, you did take money from her, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So, if these two families are in pretty much similar circumstance, why would you take money from her?
Things come up, things need to be paid. She offers to pay for those things. I wasn't going to say no.
Why not? Is my question. Why not? Would not a person with a certain moral compass say, listen, you're a working gal, you got 2 little children. I'm a working guy, I got 2 little children.
Somebody offers me money, who am I to say no?
A creep. That's who you are. Because whether I determine this was a gift or a loan, you're a creep. You're not talking about somebody who's got plenty of extra cash and says to somebody that she cares about, listen, I got a lot of extra cash. You need something, I'll help you with it. You were pretty well aware of the fact, if you were dating for a while, that she's a hard-working gal who comes home from work, takes care of her kids, does the cooking, whatever, does everything that has to be done. And you, on the other hand, who see your children every day, which is really very nice, probably have much less responsibility with regard to doing their laundry, with their appointments, with regard to doing the general stuff, what I call the grunt work, because your children do live with their mother, don't they?
Yes, ma'am.
So now we're going to decide whether you are a creep that took the money because it was a loan or a creep that took the money because it was a gift. Either way, I don't approve of your behavior. When did you start dating Mr. Emerson?
The second week of May 2006.
Tell me when and under what circumstances he asked you for the first amount of money.
He wrecked his bike, the fork broke. He said that he didn't have the money to pay for it. Sent me a text message, can you do me a huge favor? That's how all of them start.
Could you do me a huge favor?
Yeah.
Go ahead. What did it say?
I need money to pay for the fork for my bike.
Okay.
So I said under the condition that he make payments, whatever, eventually it's got to be paid back.
When did you tell him eventually he has to be paid back?
I didn't set a date. I just said, you know, whenever you can pay me back.
Okay, so and how much was that for?
This check was for $409.81.
Okay, next.
Then he was having problems. He didn't have enough money to pay his rent. So
how did you find out about that?
He sent me a text message again asking him to help him pay his rent. And I said, how much is it? And he said it was $640 with late fees. I said, how much do you have? He said he had like $400 in the bank. And I said, I can help you out, but once again, it's, you know, we're adding this on. So I wrote a check for $640, but he gave me $403 of it.
Go ahead.
Then he had to get home. His brother's wedding was like a month before.
He had to go to a wedding?
To Montana. And, you know, we talked about it, and I'm like, I can help you out. If you want me to, whatever, I can help you out.
I don't want whatever. You're in court now, Miss Price. You have to be specific about what you said to him and what he said to you, and I want you to trust me on this. I know what you're making up, and I know what you're not making up.
Right.
Do you understand?
Right.
So a month later, he had a wedding?
Yes.
Where were you when he asked you for the money for the trip?
We were at a bar.
And what did he say to you?
He just said that he didn't have the money to get there. Could I help him out?
And what did you say?
I said, I can do what I can, you know, but...
And how much was that?
The plane ticket was $346.60, and the Greyhound bus that I put him on, because I waited till the last minute to get the plane ticket, and it was going to be $900. So I wasn't going to do that. I didn't have the money to do that, and he knew that. So I sent him on a Greyhound, and that was $159.
Okay, and that's it?
Yes.
And what date was that?
He left on the 1st of August and returned on the 8th.
And when did you and Mr. Emerson stop seeing each other?
He came in on the 11th, which was a Friday, at about noon.
To your salon?
My work, yes. I proceeded to give him and his son a haircut at no charge, thinking everything was okay, because we'd had no problems up till then. And I got a text message 6 hours later from him saying that we needed a break, and, you know, this wasn't working, it was moving too fast. And so we went back and forth through text messages, and I said, you know, I have the right to know why you're feeling this way. I've done everything in the relationship I've given.
And he said?
He said, since you're giving me an ultimatum, it's over.
Okay, now, Mr. Emerson, it's your turn. June. June!
June, the mountain bike. I wrecked my mountain bike. It was going to cost about $400 to fix it. I had talked with Peggy about the price, and she offered to pay for it.
What would you talk to her about the price for?
Well, we're in a relationship. We talked about, you know, I talked about wrecking my mountain bike and, you know, what it was going to be to fix it. And
why would you tell her that? Why don't you tell your ex-wife that?
Actually, I did tell my ex-wife that.
Did she give you any money?
No.
You have living parents?
Yes.
Yeah, well, your mother loves you for a longer time than the plaintiff did. Why don't you call your mother and say, I broke my spoke?
I didn't need to. The plaintiff had already offered to pay for it.
She wouldn't need to have offered to have paid for it, Mr. Emerson, if you didn't have a problem. And you wouldn't have had a problem if you called your mother or your father or your brother or your sister and said, could you loan me some money? Then you wouldn't have even had to mention it to her.
It was offered to pay for it, ma'am.
Well, what about Mr. Emerson? You need not do that. I only know you 8 weeks. And I wouldn't think of taking any money from you because I have a mother who gave birth to me. I have an ex-wife who I support along with my 2 children. I have a brother, sister, father, you know, who I've known a long time. I wouldn't think of taking money from you. How about that?
Didn't even cross my mind.
No, that's because you're a creep. Now, Mr. Emerson, you want to tell me what cathartic event happened between the 1st of August when you went home to your brother's wedding and the 11th of August when you had your haircut and your son's haircut for free at Miss Price's salon that caused you to send her a text message that said, we need a break?
It had been leading up to that.
I want you to tell me the cathartic event between August 1st, when you left on a plane ticket that she purchased for you, and when you came back on a Greyhound bus ticket that she had purchased for you that caused you to say, we need a break.
Okay, it was...
Follow my train of thought, sir.
It was big deal was the plane ticket. She tells you she's going to do something and she'll play along with the story. I'm going to do this. I've got it taken care of. Don't worry. I'll do it.
Just a second. Just a second. Let's get rid of the gobbledygook, sir. What you're complaining about is
the fact that she does not follow through.
Listen. What you're saying is she sent you home by bus instead of plane. Is that what you're telling me?
That was one of the problems, yes.
Oh, very good. Major creep. Major creep. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,154. That's all. He owes you money for bail.
Yes, ma'am.
And that he agreed to pay you back once you had bailed him out, and he has declined to do so. Mr. Veloff says you made no agreement with him with regard to the bail money. You made an agreement with his wife. So if you want the bail money paid, get it from your daughter. That's your defense.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Veloff, how long have you been married?
13 years, 14 years.
13 or 14 years.
13.
You have children?
Yes, 2.
How many?
2.
When were you arrested, sir?
It was filed on July 4th, but I actually turned myself in on that Sunday, which would have been, I think, the 6th, 7th? Of July, I'm sorry.
7/7 of 06?
Yes.
Is this the first time you had been arrested, sir?
Yes.
And this was for domestic violence?
Yes.
And the domestic violence alleged that you either assaulted or threatened or harassed your wife?
Right.
Were you in or out of the house on the 7th of July?
In the house.
No. Okay. Mrs. Veloff, when did you complain about your husband's conduct to the police?
The incident of 4th of July.
Tell me about the incident.
We have been having marital problems for quite a while, and a recurring situation came up again that he was not working and taking care of his responsibilities. It escalated into a yelling argument that turned physical. Shortly after, well, the argument went on for quite a while. He was restraining me. I was not allowed. I was undressed coming out of the shower. He wouldn't allow me to get dressed. He wouldn't allow me to leave the master bedroom. Finally, when I did get out of the bedroom, I made it down to the lowest floor of the house, got a phone, and dialed 911. While I was on the phone with the dispatcher, he left the property. While he was gone, they dispatched 2 sheriff's vehicles to the house. They took my statement, took photos.
A copy of the statement, please. Do you have a copy of that police report?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Okay. They took photographs of what?
They took photographs of the marks on my body and the damage to the home.
What kind of marks did you have on your body?
My arms were bruised where he had grabbed me and forcibly threw me on the bed. My neck was irritated and red.
Your Honor, I do have a copy of the...
I'd like to see them. Where were your children when all this was going on?
There was a 4th of July community picnic that my daughter was at, and my son was outside playing basketball with a friend of his. I believe, well, he was in the driveway. I think they were playing basketball.
How old are your children?
14 and 12.
What's the status of this protective order?
The restraining order?
Yeah, what's the status of the case?
The case was dismissed.
When was the case dismissed?
It went to trial while my mother and I were in Italy for 2 weeks. It was dismissed because I did not show to testify.
Why didn't you appear to testify?
I was in Italy.
Why did you go to Italy during the trial?
It was already pre-planned, the trip. All of the subpoenas for me to appear were in my mail when I got back.
Your Honor, this was a 2-week Mediterranean cruise. We had planned 7 months prior to take all the kids and grandkids, everybody.
Got it. But, Ms. Veloff, after he was arrested, because he turned himself in, according to your mother's complaint, he called you and asked you to bail him out, right?
Yes.
How much was your bail?
$2,000.
And why did you think your wife would bail you out when she was the one who filed the complaint?
Well, I called her because it started getting really rough in the jail, and I've never experienced anything like that. And I called her.
How rough was it?
They found knives, shanks.
So you wanted out of there?
Yeah, and it was Wednesday night. The other inmates were starting to get their commissary or whatever they buy for the week, and a lot of it was like cold medicine, and they were chopping it up and snorting it, and I could see attitudes change, and it started getting really scary.
So you were frightened?
Yes.
So you called your wife?
Yes, I did.
And what did you say to her?
I asked her to call my dad to see if he would bail me out.
Why didn't you call your dad?
Why didn't I call my dad?
That's exactly what I said. Why didn't you call your dad? Why are you calling the alleged victim instead of calling your father directly? Don't you speak to him?
Yes, I do.
So then why didn't you call your father yourself?
The phone calls I was able to make were very limited.
Well, I understand they're very limited. I've been in the justice system a very long time. There's no reason that you're going to be able to give me that I'm going to be satisfied with, sir, as to why you didn't call your father yourself.
I don't know.
Ma'am.
Maybe your wife is going to tell me.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you call his father?
First of all, he called the house and spoke to our son, who then called me. So by the time I got the phone call, our son was frantic with worry, thinking that his father was in mortal jeopardy.
Okay.
And then I did go and call his father, and his father said no.
That's why you didn't call him.
No, that's not true.
Otherwise, sir, you know, if something doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. How old is your son?
14.
Before I would involve my 14-year-old son in the fact that I was incarcerated and I was frightened for my life, I would call my father. If I had a decent relationship with my father and if I felt that my father would want to protect me, I certainly wouldn't involve my teenage child. That's not being a protective parent.
I did not know he was going to answer the phone.
What kind of just a second. What kind of dumb answer is that?
I mean,
What kind of a dumb answer? So because he answered the phone, you unloaded on him?
I didn't unload.
Well, of course you did. Okay. So now you're between a rock and a hard place. You got your 14-year-old child saying you got to do something to get dad out of jail. You got his father who says, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not putting up any money for him. You don't have any money, so you call your mother.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And you say, you got to help me out here. You got to help me out. And she goes down and she puts up the bond. That's so far what happened.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when you got out of jail, Mr. Veloff, who was there?
Who was there? My kids, my wife, and my mother-in-law.
And what did you say to your mother-in-law?
Thank you.
What else did you say to her? What else did he say?
And he hugged me, and he thanked me, and I told him two things. One, he had to get his act together, and two, because he didn't have a job, he had to pay me back, and he owned 2 cars, which he'd already told Tracy he would do. I expected him to sell one of the 2 cars.
To pay you back?
To pay me back
Just
for my
a sec-
credit card. I'm sorry.
And did he pay you back?
No, ma'am.
Why should your mother-in-law pay your bail?
I didn't ask her to.
No, you didn't ask her to. That's absolutely right, Mr. Veloff. You did not ask her to. But you promised to pay her back. But you promised to pay her back. You didn't ask her to, and absolutely, if you hadn't said to her, I'm going to pay you back, that unfortunately for Miss Huff, there would have been no recourse. The truth of the matter is, at the time that she put up the bail for her daughter and her grandchildren. Because as far as she was concerned, you could have rotted in hell. I'm sure. I'm sure. If she didn't have grandchildren, that's probably what she would have said to her daughter. Let him stay there. But she has grandchildren, and you can't do that when you have teenage grandchildren. You can't say, listen, you're going to let your father rot in jail, so he's going to call here and he's going to complain that somebody's going to shank him. Mr. Veloff, as you see, sir, I have zero sympathy for your position morally, and I have zero sympathy for your position legally. If you had not told your mother-in-law that you would pay her back.
I promised to get my act together and get a job.
Just a second. Just a second. Did you get your act together?
Yes.
Did you get a job?
Yes.
Good. Now you have money to pay her back. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,020. That's all. Step out. You rented a house from the defendants. You gave them a deposit in order to move in. You moved in. You said the house was in deplorable condition. You want your deposit back. You want hotel stay and punitive damages for filing false charges against you with Child Protective Services. The defendants say that you owe them for rent and something that you stole when you left, right?
Yes.
That's what the case is about. Okay. You have children together?
No.
You have children who lived in the house?
Yes.
How many?
2, my daughter Michaela, who's 5 now, and her son Austin, who's 6.
And how long have the two of you been together?
We've been together a year.
Okay. Where were you living before you rented the house from the defendants?
Back in January, I bought a house with my ex-wife, and she filed for divorce about 2 or 3 days after we actually signed for the house. So I had to move out by March 1st so I could get into a house with Rachel, because I knew Rachel from high school. So
I mean, are you a couple, or are you just sharing a house?
we're a couple.
Go ahead.
We actually got married January 4th of this year.
Okay, so you had to get out fast of your living situation. Did you answer an ad for the defendant's house?
No, we actually were driving around trying to find something. We knew I don't have great credit.
Listen, you drove around. Was there a for rent sign?
Yeah, there was a for rent sign.
And you
in the
called?
front. I called the number. And
In
I talked
what
to Janae.
month?
Middle of March. We called about the first 2 weeks of March. And she told me that they had a house for rent, that they had to fix it up a little bit, and that we could look at it the next day. We met them the next day. I looked at it.
And?
It was pretty bad. They had like 3 or 4, maybe 2 or 3 couches in the living room with a bunch of tables, and it was just everywhere. There's stuff everywhere, every room. And he said he'd have it done by the 1st of April. And then he told us the deposit was $1,850, which was the first month's rent, which is $950 plus $900. And he'll have everything done by the 1st. And I told him that I have a 401k check coming in, my thing from work, and it would be, and it was $1,300. And then I was going to borrow the money from my grandparents and my mom.
Listen, that's a little too much information for me. You saw the house. It was in deplorable condition. You said you wanted the house as of when?
As of April 1st.
Did you sign a lease?
We did sign a lease. And,
I'd like to see it.
This is the original copy of it.
Lease that provided that you were going to move in on April the 3rd for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you move in on April the 3rd?
No, he kept saying he had no electricity, he had no water in the house. So we turned on the electricity at the end of March so he could get the paint done in my name. And he had no water in the house, and he owed $300 or $400 for the water. So he had to pay that off so he could get the water running. And then he never had anybody come up there to fix it.
Listen to me. When did you move in?
May 3rd.
You moved in a month late.
A month late. My parents came up from New York, and
I don't care if your parents came up from New York, sir. I have some specific questions. May 3rd you moved in, right?
Yes.
And you gave them the money when?
April 10th, because I gave him $900 before April 3rd, and then we gave him the rest of the money when my parents came up. And I got pictures of the house, the way it looked before he actually fixed it.
I don't care what it looked like before he fixed it.
Okay.
That's irrelevant to me. And when did you move out of the house?
First week of September, because he had a deposit and I was going through divorce and I had a lot of bills I had to pay.
I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to give him first and last.
I got him deposit and first month's rent.
So the deposit was for any damage that might be done and first month's rent.
Yes.
So you owed him rent in June.
Yes.
Did you pay him?
No.
Why not?
He never came to fix our house. My daughter's room had no carpet.
Just a second. Was there carpet before you moved in?
No, not my daughter's room.
Is there anything in the lease that provides that he has to provide for carpet?
It has to be livable.
No. Not everybody likes carpet, sir. Is there anything in this lease that provides that he has to provide carpet?
I'm pretty sure it does say something. And
Show me. I don't want to have to read the whole thing. Take a look. Show me where it says that your daughter's room has to be carpeted.
It says something about the conditions of the premises, including all grounds and buildings and improvements, unless they...
Listen to me. The word carpet.
I don't see carpet in here.
So the lease does not provide for carpet?
No.
Okay, so you didn't pay him for June. Your daughter's room had no carpet.
And her son's room had really old carpet. He said he was going to change in there. It was like shag carpet, and the whole house was completely destroyed.
Listen to me. You moved into it.
Yes.
If it wasn't ready, don't move in. So you moved in, and you didn't pay June's rent.
Yes.
Did you pay July's rent?
No. We had no...
Okay. Don't go there, sir.
Sorry.
I don't want to hear, you're fetching and complaining. You moved your family in, and as soon as you moved in, you stopped paying rent. That's what happened. I mean, that's the objective data.
Yeah.
You moved in, and you stopped paying rent. No June, no July, no August.
Yes.
And what were you doing with the rent money?
I was putting it toward my bills that I had from my divorce. I had a car that was 2 months behind, and like that. And we had a problem with her insurance and stuff at work. But the house was not livable. My dad.
Listen to me. If the house isn't livable, you move out. If it's not livable, you don't move in. And if it's not livable, you move out. You don't scam the landlord by moving in and saying, now I'm here. Now you can't get me out.
But I had nowhere to live.
That's not his problem. Is he related to you by blood?
No.
Who cares if you have nowhere to live? Go live with a relative. Go live with your mother. Go live with your father. Go live with your sister. Go live with your brother. But don't move into a stranger's house and say, no, I'm not going to pay rent because I got bills for my divorce.
I mean, we gave him $1,800 for the month. He never came and fixed it.
Just a second.
Okay.
I gave you credit for May's rent because he wouldn't have let you move in unless you gave him the 2 months.
Yeah.
Right? So you gave him the 2 months and then you stopped paying him. Outrageous. I mean, you're a squatter. And it's an old scam. You got yourself in, you move yourself in, you say, listen, it's going to take the courts 3, 4, 5, 6 months to get me out. By that time, they're just going to be so happy to get rid of me that they'll just say, go, forget it. And then you move on to some other unsuspected. Outrageous. You get me?
I get you.
Good. If you don't like an apartment, if you don't like a house, you don't move in. Does that sound right to you? You're the police officer, is that right?
Sounds right, Judge.
Right? Nobody's twisting your arm. You don't like the shag carpet? Don't move in. Doesn't mean that much to you. You move in. You want carpet in your daughter's room? Go to Home Depot. Now, the second part of your complaint is that they called Child Protective Services on you.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Your Honor, we never called Child Protective Services.
Just a second.
They called the police.
Can I ask quite the question, please? Did they call Child Protective Services?
The police did. Once the police came out.
So they called the police?
Yes.
Mr. Moreland?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you call the police?
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me why. What month did you call the police?
August or June, somewhere around there.
Well, August and June are 2 different months. Officer,
I'm not sure, Your
Officer,
Honor.
could you stand up, please?
Yes, Judge.
Could you move over there? I know you're not a plaintiff's witness.
Certainly.
But you responded to the location where Mr. McLaughlin and Miss Browning were living.
Yes, I did.
You remember when that was, sir?
It was on June 25th.
And you responded because you got a call about what, sir?
We had a complaint on some photographs containing images of the adults with their children in pornographic poses.
And when you responded to the location, did you find anything?
No, ma'am, we did not. Not anything that related to the complaint.
Okay. Can you describe what you saw when you got to the premises?
When I arrived at the premises, I went inside the residence. The residence was in a messy state. There were boxes every place. It appeared as if somebody was moving out. Some trash, not anything that would be deplorable to live in, but it just appeared to be unorganized and a lot of boxes and packing going on.
But you found nothing untoward?
No.
Were you responsible for calling Child Protective Services?
No, ma'am.
Do you know who did?
More than likely, any reports that we take involving children in a case such as this gets forwarded to CPS automatically.
Okay. Anything else you want to tell me, sir?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. You can have a seat. Okay. What made either one of you believe that there were photographs in there involving children?
There was, Your Honor. I haven't heard from McLaughlin for several months, and he didn't pay me for about 5 months, and he changed the locks on the premises, which on the lease it states here that if you don't pay rent or if you change the locks, I have the right to enter the premises.
Okay.
So I enter the home, and I see in the living room there's mattresses laying on the floor, 5 to 7 digital cameras laying around.
Did you,
Pictures.
Sir, officer, one more thing. When you went into the premises, did you see any mattresses on the floor?
Ma'am, I don't recall if there are any mattresses on the floor. I do remember the complaint of the video cameras. Mr. Moreland believed that there was some type of filming possibly going on involving the children in their rooms. When I responded, I checked on that complaint. I looked at the camera. Nothing that
What kind of
appeared to be-
cameras, sir? Still cameras, movie cameras?
There are several different kinds. Still cameras, some video recorders, camcorders, but nothing.
How many would you say?
Approximately 5 to 7, but they were in broken states. They didn't work. They were not set up on stands. I didn't see any evidence of any type of reporting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you take pictures of what you saw?
Yes, Your Honor, right next to the child's bed. There was an open box of two open boxes, and he also had plenty of time before the police entered the property to dispose of what I seen.
Don't tell me, that's supposition.
It's not carpet. If I like to add some.
These were taken the day that you called the police? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Okay. Officer, would you step up, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Would this be a fair and accurate representation of the condition of the house when you saw it?
Yes, that does appear to be taken in June.
Thank you. Mr. Moreland was perfectly right to pick up the phone and call the police and have them come to at least look into what was going on in that house. You moved in, according to you, on May the 3rd. This house looks like a disaster area, an absolute disaster area. And I'm not even addressing the pornographic material that's there, which, by the way, you acknowledge that you had in the house, but you say it was, in fact, put away so that the children couldn't reach it. Well, somebody reached it. It may have even been Mr. Moreland, but somebody reached it. I'm not even addressing the pornographic stuff that involved what appeared to be young children, which is weird. The condition of the house would lead a normal person to believe that something wasn't right there. So he had an absolute right to call the police, and the police had an absolute responsibility to call Child Protective Services. So your complaint is dismissed. Now let's get to your counterclaim. You're suing for the rent for the time that they lived there. Rent was how much a month?
$950.
When did they move out?
They actually moved out in October. They did not move out in June.
June, July, August, September, October. 5 months. $4,750. Listen, they're scammers.
I know you're.
Period. Squatters and scammers. And based upon the photographs that I saw, not very responsible parents either. Now, you don't mind my not going into this grill that they allegedly took? I don't care about a grill. They owe you for rent. And how much did it cost you, Mr. Moreland and Miss Cooper, to get them out? Or did they just move?
They eventually just moved, but trying to fix up the house after they left, we had to end up filing a bankruptcy because of the mortgage and everything else wasn't paid. And that cost us $4,200 just to file that.
So you see, when you have a problem with your ex-wife and bills that built up during the divorce, and you go to scam somebody else, what happens is they get hurt. It's a trickle-down effect because they didn't have money to pay the mortgage because you didn't pay the rent and you refused to move out of the house. Perfect strangers had trouble. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, both of you. And I certainly think Child Protective Services should give another look to where you're living now. Where are you living now?
Decatur Township.
You know where that is, sir?
I do, ma'am.
Good. Judgment for the defendant on the counterclaim in the amount of $4,700. Claim is dismissed. That's all. And the defendant and some other boys, maybe some of these boys here, were friends.
Yes, they used to.
Well, you say that they didn't treat him nicely and they used him for rides and stuff when they needed him.
Right, Your Honor.
But at some point, according to you, this young man posted some very, very rude things about you.
Right, Your Honor.
On something called MySpace.
Right, Your Honor.
MySpace is one of these internet sites where people who have nothing better to do with their time go and chat about a whole bunch of nonsense.
Right, Your Honor.
Is that about what it is?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that about right?
Right.
That's about right.
You know, I always said that we could eliminate probably a third of the problems in this country if people actually had to shovel coal in a furnace for heat. Rather than spending all that spare time that they have making problems for other people and sitting behind their computers doing things other than for which computers were originally designed. Mr. Luna says, First Amendment. I can post anything I like on the internet because there's free speech in this country. That is your defense.
Yes, Your Honor.
Really?
Yes.
Is that what you think the Constitution says, Mr. Luna?
Well, first of all...
I didn't ask you first of all. That required a yes or a no answer, sir. Is that what you think the Constitution says? That you can say anything you want to about anybody?
On certain grounds, yes. But I believe that I didn't write anything that really damaged her reputation as she claimed.
All right. Well, then let's see what you said, because I had no clue about what you said here. First, Mr. Luna, since there is no issue, sir, that you posted these things about Mrs. Mendelson on this internet site, I'd like to know why you did it.
Okay. Well, it all started when myself...
is the same person, I assume, unless you're bipolar.
Me and my friends were talking just online, just joking while we were waiting for our classes. And then we just talked about certain stupid things, I know. And then...
You talked about stupid things while you were waiting for change of classes in college?
Yes.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, we were online.
Who's paying for your school?
My father.
Your father is paying for you to be in school and talk about stupid things with your friends in between classes? Is that what you think you're paying for, sir?
Not really.
Good, perfect. Love to hear it. You and I are going to get along just fine. Go ahead.
Well, we were just waiting for our classes because I
don't care why you were waiting for your classes. I asked you why you said bad things about Mrs. Mendelson.
Well, it was just to relieve our our stress and frustrations.
Why don't you
from
get a
her.
job?
Well, I had school. I'm a full-time college student.
Well, then why are you writing about Mrs. Mendelssohn to relieve your stress?
Because beforehand, she was making comments about us, me and my friends specifically.
Oh, on the internet?
No, like to her son.
So she was having a private conversation with her son about you and your friends?
Yes, and then...
She's allowed to do that?
Yes, but it was very rude and very untrue. And she assumed many things, and she would tell him...
Who cares? Who cares what she assumed? She's having a private conversation with a child. She's not publishing anything. Let me see what you wrote about her.
I have it right here.
Did your father see it?
Yes.
When did you show it to him?
About a month ago.
When did you write it?
October 26th.
So why did you wait so long to show your father?
Well, because number one, I was trying to handle my own business. And then the month after October 26th, I actually forgot about the conversation because that is a conversation between me and Derek.
You know what I find most distressing about this, Mr. Luna? Is that you're illiterate, and so is your friend. And that your family is wasting a whole lot of money sending you to college and getting an illiterate person at the end. Mr. Luna?
Can I say something,
Mr.
Your Honor?
Luna, did you read this?
Yes, Your Honor. I read it lately, Your Honor.
Stand up, sir.
May I say something about the case, Your Honor?
No, you may say nothing about the case, sir. You may answer my questions. First of all, Mrs. Mendelssohn, I have just read this.
Yes.
Okay? This is not actionable, which means that you can sue, but you're not going to win. What is written here, if I can read it, because it looks like it's written by somebody who was educated in some third world country where they only go up to kindergarten. Watch what? W-A-T? You say about her, cuz, C-U-Z, she might come to your house, Y-R, and do crazy, and that's a bad word, I'll leave that out, like castrating you and sewing I'll use a different word, testicles back on backwards and sewing your foot and you with it. Okay? It's stupid. Do you know what? That's what you're complaining about, right?
Yes,
Listen
Your
to me.
Honor.
Listen to me. I didn't know what he had said about you. What he said about you was stupid. Nobody takes it seriously. Nobody's thinking you're going to come to somebody's house and you're going to do that to them. He's just being stupid. So it doesn't even amount to free speech. It amounts to the rantings of some juvenile who's just being dumb. Do you understand?
Yeah. And I was really upset because...
Well, I can understand you were upset, but
I'm
that's not
an
actionable.
immoral
Now,
person.
was this young man your friend, Mr. Luna?
Yes, we were very close.
You say some bad things about him.
Well, it was jokingly...
Well, it's not an answer, sir. You say if you were very, very close. Why do you say bad things about him in here?
It's friendly banter between us. That's what we do.
Who was bantering here? Not him.
Well, it's between me and...
No. Between you and him. You weren't bantering with each other, calling each other funky names. You were bantering with him, and you were making fun of him. Mr. Luna, that makes you not a very nice person when you say he was a friend of mine.
Yes, but all of us are friends. We do the same things to each other. But
Does he have a car?
Yes.
Do you have a car?
No.
Who drove you around?
Well, sometimes Irving drives me around, sometimes my friend Manuel or Derek recently. But it's not like I'm...
It's not like you're using him or anything.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Mr. Luna, your son did a disrespectful thing, but not actionable. So you don't have to worry. He doesn't have to pay Mrs. Mendelssohn any money. I don't know if he's a nice young man or not a nice young man. Only you know that.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Yes.
He's a nice young man. In fact, he helped Irving in his religion class, and he's kind of mentoring this guy. I mean, they were friends, Your Honor, and it all started...
Did you read this?
Yeah, I know. I read it. But it all started when Mrs. Mendelssohn tried to blame my son and his friends that they are using drugs.
Yes.
And she's trying to, separate his son from these guys who are nice people. I just don't know why Mrs. Mendelssohn is so mad at my son.
Maybe you want to tell me, Mrs. Mendelssohn?
The truth, Your Honor, is that I never said that they're using drugs. It was a lie. What I told my son is that because I saw a lot of this abuse from Christian sending all those messages against him, and I told my son, stop giving him a ride and transfer to other school. And I didn't mention anything about drugs. You're wrong.
Who told you that Mrs. Mendelssohn accused you of using drugs?
Her son.
He told you?
Yes.
Irving, stand up next to your mother. Did you ever tell this young man that your mother accused him of using drugs?
Not exactly.
What do you mean, not exactly, Irving?
Well, she said that she doesn't want me hanging around people who do drugs.
Okay, so?
And in that sense, that's what I said to Christian.
But she never accused Christian of doing drugs? No. That's your answer, Mr. Luna. What else?
I would just like to clear something out. I didn't use Irving to give me rides. I don't just randomly call him and like, oh, can you give me a ride to this so-and-so place? I would ask him a ride if we were going there together. But I've never used them just
Christian, I want you to listen to me very carefully.
Okay.
Having access to a machine like a computer and access to a place like MySpace where you can say very damaging and hurtful things doesn't mean that you should use it. When you write something like this, even though it sounds asinine, juvenile, and stupid, it was still hurtful to Mrs. Mendelson. It's not the kind of thing that the courts will take action about, but it's the kind of things that you shouldn't write about one person because it's just unkind. And you can't hide behind the cloak of anonymity when you do that because it's out there for millions and millions and millions of people to read. And it's hurtful. And I say this to you and to your friends and to you and anybody else who uses the internet. Once you put something down and go send, or whatever you do, because I don't use that machine, it's out there, and it's out there forever, and it's hurtful. You have to be careful. That about her was unkind.
I know that, Your Honor.
Very good. Then you tell him he did the wrong thing? Tell him to apologize to her?
In fact,
say, shh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Mendelson.
Okay.
That's it.
Just don't do it again, ever.
Thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Very cute. Did you ever think when he was born, when you were taking care of his colds and when you were cleaning up after him, that you'd ever be suing him?
Never.
You must be pretty frustrated.
Very frustrated. He owes me money. I mean, it's not even the money. It's the issue of responsibility. He needs to pay his debts, and that's why we're here.
How many children do you have?
4.
Where does he fit in?
The second son. I have an older son, him, a younger son, and a daughter.
What about your other children? They okay?
They're fine.
So this is what the case is about. You loaned him money for a car.
Correct.
Tell me your first name.
Jason.
Jason, when did your mother loan you money for a car?
I'd say last year around
Mr.
February.
Shapiro, when did you loan him money for the car?
May 13th of 05.
What kind of a car did you buy, Jason?
I bought a 67 Mustang.
67 Mustang?
Or, no, it was an 88, sorry. I was thinking of a different car. 88
You're only
5.0. Sorry.
century apart. What?
Yeah, it's an 88 5.0 Mustang.
And according to your complaint, Mr. Shapiro, he paid on the car.
Yes, he made 4 payments.
And what was the total amount he borrowed?
$1,500.
How much did he pay you?
On 6/14 of 05, he paid $120. On 7/18, he paid $95. On 8/20, he paid $80. On 9/21, he paid $75.
And then he stopped paying. And Jason says he stopped paying because the car got towed.
Yep.
And he couldn't get the car out of impound because he didn't have any money.
Correct.
So he called you and he said, can you give me some money so I can get my car out of tow? You said, I don't have any money to give you to get your car out of tow. So the car didn't get out of tow. He lost the car, and he says it's your fault that he lost the car so he doesn't have to pay any more money.
Right.
Right? That's your defense.
Yep.
You want to say that to me? Because I've said it now, but I would like to hear it coming from your mouth, Jason.
Yeah. Well, I borrowed the money, I got the car, then where I was staying, I was forced to move, and I couldn't move the car at the time because it was broken down at the time.
So where did you leave it?
In front of my friend's house.
How long did you leave it there?
Like maybe a week before it got towed. Because I had to get it fixed, and I was fixing it, and then I'm trying to
Well,
work.
you could have pushed it into somebody's driveway or something.
I didn't
right?
have no driveway to put it in.
Did you call your mom and say to her, listen, can I leave the car in your driveway?
Well, I didn't think to ask her that, and
You didn't
then I would have
think?
had to have it towed over there or something. I didn't have the money for that either.
So you think it's her fault that she didn't lend you more money?
Yeah, so I can get the car. If I don't have a car, why should I give her the money for it?
Let me ask you this question, Jason. How old are you?
22.
Did you go to high school?
Yeah.
Did you finish?
No.
That was a big mistake.
Yeah, I know.
Now, you look like a pretty stout kind of guy. Do you ever eat at a restaurant?
Yeah.
Go in, you order dinner, finish the dinner, they bring you the bill.
Yeah.
You look at the bill and you say, why do I have to pay this? There's nothing on my plate anymore. It's all gone. What do you mean? I want you to make believe that your mother is a bank. And instead of borrowing this money from your mother, you borrowed it from a bank. Same scenario. You're doing road work on the car in the public street where you're not allowed to do it. You leave the car on the street. Somebody gives you a free pass for a while, but after a week, they tow your car. You don't have money to get out. You call the bank. Say, listen, I owe you money on a car loan, but unless you loan me more money so I can get my car out of tow, I'm not going to pay you any more money. Hello? Is this a crank call? Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
Does that sound foolish to you, Jason?
Yeah, it does.
So let's not sound foolish. I mean, the first foolish thing that you did was not graduate from high school, because then you would have had money, maybe, to fix your car. Now let's get to the other problem that you had. I'll hear you again, Mrs. Shapiro.
He was accused of stealing at work.
Stealing cash?
Stealing cash.
What kind of place were you working at the time, Jason?
It was like a diner, maybe.
It was a sandwich shop.
And what were you doing?
I was cooking.
And you were accused of stealing?
Yeah.
Out of the cash register?
I don't know. They never told me where it was from. They just told me money was missing, and they feel that I was doing it.
Okay. So he called you?
Correct.
What did he say when he called you?
That he was accused of stealing and that they were going to press charges and put him in jail unless he came up with the money.
And you said what?
I said, let's go meet with her.
With whom?
With his boss.
Fine. So you sat down with his boss?
With his boss in her office.
Go ahead.
And at that time, she basically told me exactly what had happened,
Well,
the
tell me-
amount of money that was taken.
When she sat at the meeting with you and your son and accused him of taking this money, what did he say?
He had admitted to doing it. And she was willing
How much
to
money are we
not-
talking about?
$2,715.
I didn't say nothing like that.
What did you say?
I told them that I wasn't admitting nothing.
No, don't look down. Look over here.
I wasn't going to pay them. I was going to go try and get an attorney, try and fight them and everything. I wasn't taking the rap. I didn't see no proof I did it. I didn't see nothing.
Now, just a second. We're not talking about proof. Listen to me very carefully, Jason. You got...
Yep.
Your mother says that at the meeting with your boss, you admitted taking the money. But if you say to me, I told them that I wasn't taking the rap for this because I didn't do it, then you're telling me, in effect, that your mother is a liar. Is that what you want to tell me?
That's what I said.
What did you say?
I said that...
No,
I didn't
don't
say
look
that.
down. Look over here.
I said I didn't say that.
You said you didn't say what?
I didn't say that I took the money.
What did you say?
I said that I was going to try and fight it.
With what?
However I could.
Is that what you told your mother?
Yeah.
Tell me exactly what you told your mother.
I didn't tell my mom really anything. I just said I wasn't going to... I didn't want to pay it. I didn't want to give them this money. I didn't want her to give them the money. I didn't want nothing. I just wanted to go try and get a lawyer or whatever and try and fight
So
this
then
out.
why in the world, Jason, did you call your mother and arrange to go to a meeting with her? And why did you go to the meeting with her? You were been told that you were accused of stealing. So there was no possible reason for you to call your mother or go to the meeting if what your intention was to say, fine, arrest me, I'm going to get a lawyer, and I'm going to fight these charges. You want to explain that to me?
Just figured she knew more than I did about this type of stuff, and she might be
What
able to
type
give me
of
some
stuff?
kind of advice. What they were telling me.
Just a second. I can understand, Jason, you calling your mother at home and saying, Mom, I want to come over and talk to you. This is what they're accusing me of, and I didn't do it. I want to get a lawyer, and I want to fight it. What I don't understand, Jason, is why you called your mother and then went to a meeting with your boss, with your mother.
I just had her come with me.
Why? Why would you go at all? You knew what you were being accused of.
I don't know. I just went.
3 out of 4 ain't bad. Just say to your mother when she wrote out the check or paid them the money.
Nothing. I didn't actually see that happen.
Well, you knew she did it, right?
Yeah, I didn't say nothing to her, though.
You didn't say anything?
No, I was...
Like, thanks, Mom, for bailing me out, or I don't want you to pay this money because I didn't do this. I'd rather we spend the money on a lawyer so I can have a clear name. Didn't say that?
No.
Did you make an arrangement with your mother to pay her back out of your paychecks?
No, I never set that up.
Who did?
I guess the lady that I was working for did.
And how many days did you work after your mother gave them the money?
I don't know, maybe 3 or 4.
Why did you leave?
Because they were harassing me.
Who was
at the
harassing
job.
you?
The bosses. They were talking about me in front of me, and I wasn't feeling comfortable about that, so I quit.
And where did you go to work?
I went to another job. I got a job at Dairy Queen.
For how long?
About a month.
And where'd you go after that?
That was just a couple weeks ago. I haven't had a job yet since then.
Maximum limit in the small claims court in your jurisdiction is $3,000. Is that why you sued for $3,000? That's what you owe your mother. Who are you living with?
My friend.
What does your friend do for a living?
He works in, like, he makes the glass for the slot machines in the casinos.
Do you know that you sound to me like you're lost? Seriously. You sound to me as if you're lost, and unless you take control of your life, sir, it's going to be over before you know it. You can't be an irresponsible baby forever. Comes a time when you have to grow up and take responsibility for what you do and not make everybody else's life miserable. Your mother doesn't owe you anything anymore. Now you're on your own. Leave her alone. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all. You gave Crystal a car.
Yes.
So you gave it to her.
Yes, ma'am.
As a gift.
Yes, ma'am.
When you gave Crystal the car, her mother invested money to have the car fixed. Then, according to Miss Taylor, you took the car back.
Yes, ma'am.
And she wants the money that she invested in the car because you took the car back. So now I have to figure this out. Which one of you two ladies is Crystal?
Me.
Crystal, stand up next to your mom. When did you give Crystal the...
Late July.
What kind of car was it?
A Ford Contour.
What year?
98.
How many miles did it have on it?
Approximately 200,000.
Okay, so it didn't have much value to it.
No.
And why did you give her the car?
The whole purpose, I paid the car off, and I said that when I get a new one, my whole point of not trading the car in was to give it away to somebody who was in need when I
Fine,
found
so you
that
gave it to
person.
Crystal?
Yes.
And how did you know her?
We worked together.
Why did you take it back?
We were waiting for a title to the car because I had a lien. I had trouble getting the title because of the lien. Miss Taylor contacted me right before I got the title, and she told me that she was suing me. She did not want the title at that point. She wanted the money that she says that she put into it. So I told her that I wanted receipts and I wanted to verify with my mechanic.
You have the car?
Yes.
You just give it back to Crystal.
That's not true.
Just a second. Listen to me. Perhaps Miss White didn't understand, so I have to explain the law to you. When you give a gift, you cannot give a gift with tentacles. You don't have the right to say, well, I'm giving it to you because I want to give it to somebody who's needy. But then if you do something with it that I don't like, I'm going to take it back.
Well, it's the whole idea that I was being sued. If I'm being sued for $2,000, prove it. She didn't want it.
Very
She
good.
didn't want the car. She didn't want the title. I told her I have the title.
Oh, fine. Well, just give her the... Just listen to me. Just give her the title.
I would. At the door, at her door.
A second.
I
Listen
went
to
to
me.
her door and told her I
Perfect.
had it.
No, that's not true.
Yes, it is.
Just a second. Listen to me very carefully. You're not entitled to any money. You're entitled to the car. Period. End of discussion. Do you understand? My question is now, do you want, Miss Taylor, this is your lawsuit, do you want the car?
No.
Then your case is dismissed.
Why is that, Judge?
Because you are not entitled to the money. You fixed up the car. You're entitled to the car that she gave you. It was a gift. It was an unconditional gift. She gave it out of her heart because she wanted to give it to somebody who needed a car. You took it upon yourself to fix the car. You fixed it. You invested money in it.
But the car wasn't free. The title wasn't free. She just
It
got
is now free. Is
She
that
just
right?
got it free and
I
clear.
have
She
a
didn't have it in
title.
August.
Now she has the title free and clear. Do you want the car or nothing? Do you want the car or nothing?
The car, I mean, I put money into the car. I mean...
Do you want the car or nothing?
Car.
Good. Take out the title. You'll take care of signing it over to Miss Taylor. Fine?
That's fine.
Good. Bird, have him sign over the title, please.
Okie dokie.
Perfect. Is the car at your home, Miss White?
Yes.
Okay. When do you want Miss Taylor to pick it up, or Crystal?
Anytime.
Fine. You're a doll, Miss White. You're a nice person. It was a
you.
nice gesture.
Thank you.
This case stands for the proposition that no good deed goes unpunished. That's all. Thank you.
We've heard that
That's
all
all.
week.
Relationship. According to your complaint, you decided to relocate with him. You got a job opportunity in Florida. You went down to Florida, two of you. You found an apartment. You put down a deposit, first month's rent. And Mr. Potts went down to Florida before you did.
Correct.
When he got there, he had a change of heart. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you have a change of heart, sir?
Well, because at the time she wasn't actively looking for a job in Florida, and I didn't feel like she would be a real reliable person to share all the bills with.
So you were sort of looking for a solid business partner.
Well, I didn't want to put myself in a hole. It would have been easier for me to take care of myself versus me taking care of myself, another person, and a small child.
Because you have a daughter who was relocating with you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, Mr. Potts, how much money did she put down on the apartment?
I'm not sure exact dollar figure.
You know the exact dollar figure.
Yes, ma'am. It was $877.50.
So my question to you, Mr. Potts, is what arrangements did you make to get her back her $877?
Well, there really wasn't at first any arrangement because the money that she put down towards the apartment is basically money that I put towards the cost of the moving.
Well, because you were supposed to move.
Well, I was moving.
You both were moving.
Right. If we're both moving, then we both should be coming out of pocket for money.
Well, how much did you pay for all the moving of her stuff, sir?
All right, I had purchased their shipping containers where you load them up yourself. Well, originally I only needed one. The pods were originally $850 a piece. I had paid the $850, and to get an additional pod was $850, so $1,700.
Show me that you paid for $1,700, sir. Show me.
I can't.
Why not?
Because I don't have receipts for that.
Where'd you think you were coming to today? To the beach?
Well, that was 7 months ago, so.
7 months ago is a minute, sir. So, I'm going to ask you again, what arrangements did you make to get her back her money, $877?
Well, I paid over $900 to ship her stuff back, which...
As well you should.
I don't agree.
Well, I don't give a rat's behind whether you agree or not. Whether you agree with me, Mr. Potts, is not particularly relevant in my life. That's why you come to court. I don't believe you, sir, that you paid $1,700 for a pod for you and for her.
For two of them. They're $850 a piece.
What I'm telling you, sir, is show me. Other than your great looks, Mr. Potts, what you have to do is have proof. Proof is a receipt, a paid bill for exactly what it was, and you don't have it.
No, I don't.
Right. You chose to breach the agreement that you had by telling her once she had sent down her stuff that you didn't want her to move there for your own reasons.
No, for the reasons that it was better for everybody.
Fine. Listen to me. That's a judgment that you made. Fine. But then, once you have made that judgment, what you have to do is make Miss Cameron whole. Whole.
Which I did by sending her belongings.
I'm speaking when my mouth moves, yours doesn't. By making Miss Cameron whole, you have to return her property to her at your expense. It would be untoward of you to think that you changed your mind and now you say you want your stuff back. You have to pay for the shipping of it back to New Jersey. That's ridiculous, Mr. Potts. Now, I believe him that he packed up your boxes and sent them back, that he spent money, as well he should, because it was his option to change his mind, thereby voiding the agreement that you had to move in together. Now, if you want these other items, washer, dryer, table, and chairs, you can make arrangements to get them at your expense. Do you understand? Because I don't think you really want.
That was part of our agreement.
Well, it's unfortunate. I don't know if I believe you. In any event, he owes you $877, which was your down payment. Have you sent it?
No, ma'am, I have not.
Send it. Judgment for the plaintiff, $877. Thank you. That's all. The gentleman who's standing next to you, Mr. Pierce, used to be your boyfriend.
Yes.
Even though he was married. And you have a child together.
Yes.
Mistake number 2. And it is your claim that the two of you leased an apartment for 6 months because you claim Mr. Pierce wanted to move out of your parents' home where the two of you were living with your baby and have a place of your own. You signed the 6 months lease. He didn't really hold up his end of the rent, which you had agreed to, and then he moved out, leaving you stuck with the lease. Mr. Pierce says that you couldn't rip him from the heart of his wife and 2 sons. And that he decided to go home, and that he paid rent while he lived there, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Did I explain your position, sir?
No, I don't owe any of the money.
What?
I don't owe any money.
Oh, this is going to be harder than I thought. When did he live in your parents' house?
The first time he moved in was in May.
Of 2006?
Yes.
How old is your baby?
He's 2.5. He'll be 3 in October.
Is that your only child?
Yes.
Why would you have a baby with somebody who's married?
Because he lied and told me he wasn't married. He told me he had just separated and he was divorced from his wife 6 months prior to when I met him.
He said he was separated or divorced?
The same difference. He said...
No, it's not the same difference. Separated is not divorced.
At first, he didn't have a wife. I would have never went with him if he told me that he was married.
And when did he finally tell you he was married?
He never did. He never told me that he was married. I had to find out from his wife that he was married. And it was after I had my son.
Was he living with you?
No, he wasn't.
Why wasn't he living with you?
I don't know.
Did you ask him why we're not living together?
No.
Did you ask him why we're not married?
No, he knows that I wouldn't want to marry him. I told him, I don't want to get married. Why do I need to get married? If I live with somebody, why would I need to get married?
Well, why if you're fighting with somebody? You're right, you shouldn't marry somebody you're fighting with, right? You also shouldn't make a baby with them.
That was before I found out that he was married.
What difference does it make if he's married or not? If you don't want to get married and you're not getting along with him.
We were not fighting before that. Everything was fine before that. There was no fighting or nothing.
You mean everything was fine until you got pregnant?
Yes. Well, he was okay up until the month I had my baby.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a receiving clerk.
Where?
I don't want to say.
In what city?
In San Marcos.
How long have you been a shipping clerk for the company that you work for now?
Close to a year.
And before that, where did you work?
Oh, I didn't work.
Huh?
I didn't work. Oh, I did work, but in numerous places.
What kind of work does the plaintiff do?
I work in the emergency room.
What kind of work does the plaintiff do?
She works in a hospital, I guess.
What do you mean you guess?
Why I see her go there. I mean, yeah, she works in a hospital. Excuse me, I don't want to be...
Yeah, don't be a smart aleck, sir. You know, you're having trouble just keeping your head above water here. And what prompted you to decide to get an apartment with him? Because now you're living with your parents and your son, right? Everything is nice. The baby has some stability, live at home, so he's got grandparents, nice. Now you know he's married. And he says, let's get an apartment together.
He's the father of my child. I'm going to give him a chance. If I'm going to want him in my son's life, I'm going to give him that chance. He told me that he was in the process already of divorcing his wife. 2 weeks before we signed our lease, before we were going to move in together, he told me that his divorce was going to be final. That obviously
So you
was
signed the
not true.
lease. Can I see the lease, please?
Yes, you may.
November of 2006 is when you started. When did he move out?
In January of 2007.
So he lived there with you for 2 months, right?
Yes.
Excuse...
What?
We moved in October, and I gave her rent for October.
Says that the rent is due the first date of each month beginning November 2nd.
Thank you. It's November.
Your lease started November 2nd,
Yes.
2006. Why did you move out?
I went back with my wife and kids, went home.
You went back with your wife and kids. Well, what'd you expect her to do with this apartment?
Well, she told me, before we even moved into the place, that I can go back to my family, go back, break the lease and go back to my family.
Just a second. She what? Say it again to me,
She told
so
me-
I believe it.
She told me that I can, if it didn't work, I could break the lease.
And go back to your wife.
Yes.
Those words never came out of a woman's mouth.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Not her mouth.
Thank you. Especially
Not
with
just
somebody with a kid.
Just a second. Don't it? Look at me. Those words not only didn't come out of her mouth, they didn't come out of any woman's mouth in history. If it doesn't work out between us, you can break the lease and go back to your wife.
Yeah, because she knew how I felt about my wife and her.
What, are you crazy? Why did you sign this lease, Mr. Pierce?
Because I wanted to be free. I thought it was going to work out between me and her.
Because what?
I wanted to be free. I wanted, because we would have fun. I thought we would be, work out between me and Juliet.
So you wanted to have fun. You couldn't have fun in her parents' house.
We agreed to move out so we could be together.
You wanted to be free.
Yeah, well,
You wanted to be able to drink and smoke and do what you wanted to do and have a good time. You couldn't do that at her parents' house. And her parents probably looked at you like I'm looking at you and saying, why? I raised this nice girl and she brings me home a bum. Why? What happened? Mr. Pierce, you have a responsibility to pay her for the remainder of the lease, your half. Do you want me to explain why to you, sir?
No.
No?
Well, because I don't owe her any money. When I stayed there, she said that it was okay, because she knew I had to support my other kids.
You know, when I was a kid, my grandmother used to tell me that, God one day God gave you a heart, one day a soul, one day you got a brain, one day you got... He was absent. He was absent. You picked the wrong day to be absent, Mr. Pierce. Listen to what I'm saying to you, sir. You have 3 children. You made 3 children. You can't afford to have 3 children. You probably can't even afford to take care of yourself. So you have to find some other hobby other than having children. That's number 1. Number 2, sir, look over here. You signed a lease. That has meaning. Whether you pay taxes or not is not my issue. Signing this contract is my issue. Do you understand, sir?
Yes.
Signing this contract obligated her to pay this rent. Now, if they can't come after you because they can't find you, that is a problem. Do we understand each other, Mr. Pierce?
Yes, ma'am.
You understand me loud and clear now, Mr. Pierce?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. I'm glad now we understand each other, sir. So when you sign a lease for 6 months with the mother of your child and take her out of a home where she's living relatively comfortably, rent-free, and then you get an epiphany and want to be near your other baby's mother, that doesn't mean you are absolved from paying her for the rent. Do you understand, sir? If Uncle Sam can't find you, I can. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. The rent is $825. According to your complaint, he was supposed to pay $400. $400 times 4 equals $1,600. That's for the 4 months remaining on the lease after you moved out, sir. Do you understand?
Yes.
Goodbye. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's right. Mr. Smith acknowledges that you bailed him out of jail, but he said that that was your choice. He never agreed to pay you back the money. Right?
Yes.
How old are you?
19.
What do you do to keep yourself occupied?
I'm a full-time student and I work.
Full-time student where?
Longview Community College, Kansas City, Missouri.
And you work for whom?
Walgreens.
And what were you arrested for, Mr. Smith?
On speeding charges, tickets that I didn't pay, warrants.
Speeding, tickets, warrants. How many?
8.
How do you manage to get all these tickets if you're a full-time student and working at Walgreens?
What it was when I was in high school, I racked up a lot of tickets, like speeding tickets, and I didn't have a job in high school because I played football, and I didn't work and I never paid them off.
And how do you know Miss Hubbard?
I met her at the club.
Now, were you dating each other or you just knew her?
It was like kind of like that in-between thing where not really friends, but not really together either.
I see. Who was this smiling person over here?
This is my friend Robin.
How long have you known Robin?
About 6 years now.
So he's a good friend of yours?
Yes.
Better friend to you than Miss Hubbard, right?
I guess you could say that, yeah.
Well, he schlepped all the way to court with you, didn't he?
Yeah.
From Missouri?
Yeah, from Missouri.
And who do you live with?
I stay with my dad right now.
So you have a father?
Yes.
And I guess he's known you for at least 19 years, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you have a mother?
Yes.
She's known you for at least 19 years.
Yes.
Now, Robin here, he didn't bail you out of jail.
No, he didn't.
So he must not like you so much.
Nah.
And your father didn't bail you out of jail, right?
Right.
He didn't like you so much.
No.
Your mother didn't bail you out of jail.
No.
Right? She didn't like you so much.
No.
You have grandparents?
Yes.
Yeah, how many?
I actually have one.
Grandmother?
Yeah, grandmother.
She didn't bail you out of jail either.
No, she didn't know, actually.
I guarantee you she knew.
Okay.
So how long were all these loving people who were really attached to you, how long did they let you sit in jail when you got arrested?
The whole time.
How long was that?
That was 3 weeks.
3 weeks? I mean, we're not talking about we'll let him stay overnight to teach him a lesson, right? We're letting Mr. Full-Time Student Employee at Walgreens stay in jail 3 weeks. But then, according to what I managed to put together here, they were going to move you from one jail to another because you served your time on a whole bunch of tickets in one county, but then there were other counties looking for you. Is that right?
Yeah.
You ever hear of a man for all seasons? This is a man for all counties. So when they were going to move you, somehow Miss Hubbard bailed you out of jail.
Yes.
Were you happy to be out of jail?
Yes, I was.
How happy were you?
I was very excited.
And how did Miss Hubbard find out that they were going to move you from one jail to another?
I told her.
You told her?
Yeah, I told her.
Did you tell your mother?
No, I didn't tell my mother.
Did you tell your father?
Yes, I told him.
Did you tell Robin?
No, I didn't tell Robin.
Didn't tell Robin either,
No,
but
I
you
didn't.
told your father?
Yes.
And what'd your father say? Bye.
Yeah.
But not Miss Hubbard.
No.
She bailed you out.
Yes.
So what do you think you ought to do?
I told her thank you. I did. I told her thank you.
You told her thank you?
Yeah, I told her thank you. I never agreed to pay her back, so.
What did you say when you called her?
I just told her the situation that I was done serving my time at that jail and that they were transferring me to a different jail. And she didn't want to see me in jail no more than I wanted to see myself in jail. So she proceeded to bail me out.
Oh, okay. Now, Miss Hubbard, why don't you tell me how it came about that you bailed him out of jail?
Well, he caught me July 19th, which was a Thursday. I knew he was going to the next jail the next day. So he basically talked about how he was tired of being there and that he didn't want to serve the days that he would be serving at the next county. He asked me if I had some money. I told him I didn't at that moment, but I had got paid that Friday. And he basically went into, you know, my bail is $220. If you have the money, I'll pay you back. I don't want to be in jail anymore.
That sounds right. That sounds like what people say.
That's not what I said.
How many times did your father bail you out of jail?
About 4 times before that.
And each time that your father bailed you out of jail, did you pay him back?
No.
That's why he didn't pay you out anymore.
Right.
How are you going to pay back? How much was his bail?
It was $250.
Well, what happened when you asked him for your money back?
I never got a chance to really ask him for the money back because he basically ignored my phone calls. And the last time I saw him, though, he had told me to come back and that he was going to give me some of the money. And after that, when I had called him back, I basically got ignored.
You mean after you bailed him out, he cut you off?
Basically, yeah.
That's not nice, Mr. Smith.
Yeah, can I say something in my defense for
Yeah.
that? I didn't like the way that she was treating me, like the lifestyle that she wanted to live when I got out of jail. She wanted me to like stop hanging out with my friends that I known like way longer than her. She was real controlling and she was like real possessive, and I just didn't want to talk to her anymore. So I just cut her off.
I'm going to say something to you that you've probably heard on a lot of commercials. Stay in school, okay?
Okay.
You need it. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $250. That's
Thank
all.
you.
Mr. Leach acknowledges that you gave him $4,500, but he says it was the return of a loan. This was your boyfriend for a period of time?
For 3 years.
So, Mr. Leach, I'm going to start with you, sir. When did you make Mr. Ricotta a loan?
The exact date was July of 2006.
And what was the loan for, sir?
Unforeseen expenses, household expenses, and also she had a very tight budget in terms of purchasing this car. So I was helping out with that.
Purchasing which car?
The car she was looking for her daughter for.
Tell me how these loans came about, Mr. Leach.
What
do you mean, sir? Am I saying something confusing to you? Is English your primary language?
Yes, it is. Actually, I just had to think for a moment because...
Because you didn't expect me to start with you. That's why you had to think for a moment, because you didn't expect me to start with you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, your defense is that the money she gave you was a return of a loan. So, tell me about the loan.
Okay. She was telling me she was struggling in terms of meeting expenses, household expenses, and also at the same time in terms of what she was trying to do in purchasing this car. It was a lot of expenses that came up, so it was very difficult for her in order to meet those expenses.
How did you come up with a figure, Mr. Leach?
I'm sorry, excuse me? Yeah. How did she come up?
How did you come up with a figure about how much money you were going to loan her?
Because it was about how much it would cost to buy a car. I figured how much, from what I knew about, though it was going to be very difficult to find a car for that amount of money, but, we were going to try to see.
So you gave her the money to buy this car that she wanted to buy for her daughter. Is that what you're telling me? Mr. Leach,
yes, correct.
It's not what you say in your answer, but let's say you sort of forgot what you wrote in your answer. So you lent her the money to buy this car, and you were supposed to look for the car because that's your sort of strong suit because you buy cars at auctions.
I have a friend who owns a dealership, and I thought that we could help her find a car through him.
So then why would you give her the money to give the money back to you?
It was her car. She would have to write the check for the car. She'd be
Not
purchasing
necessarily, sir. You could have written the check out of your account. How
That's
did you know it was
right.
going to be $4,000?
I didn't. I just it was an estimate how much it was going to
Show
cost.
me the proof.
Okay,
Show me the proof. I'm dying to see your proof. Show me your bank statement, sir.
I don't have a bank statement with me. I have a canceled check showing the amount of money withdrawn.
Where's your bank statement showing that this money came out of your account?
I don't. It's a copy of the canceled check, the front and the back.
Show me the bank
I don't have-
statement. You
I
were
don't-
supposed to bring bank statements, sir.
Sorry, I don't have a bank statement with me.
That's too bad. You have a bank statement to show me?
Yes.
Give that back to him, please. Thank you very much.
This transaction, which she's speaking of, in May of 2006, because he does have an auction, and I'm a single mother, and he knew I was struggling. He did not want me to take a part-time job, so he offered to help me with my finances, that we go in on a car together at auction, and we did. I put $4,000 in, he put $2,000. He did all the legwork. He went to auction. He sold the car, and for me loaning him the money, I made a $200 profit, which was good for me, worked for him, and I do have all the statements for that transaction. The canceled checks he's showing you is the payment of the $4,000 I originally gave him in May. So that was a totally separate transaction. And I do have bank statements showing it came out of my account.
Show me the money that you gave him.
Okay.
I'm talking about the money for your daughter's car.
Oh, okay.
As far as I'm concerned, Mr. Leach has been totally unsuccessful in persuading me that he made a loan to you.
Okay, that's what you have right there is for the transaction in October. And you can see there's a cancel money order that went into his bank account that did my bank.
That was in October.
Correct.
Does this look familiar to you, sir? This is a bank statement.
I know what a bank statement looks like. Let me ask you, can I ask you a question?
Can you ask me a question?
Yes, can I?
I don't know answers. All I know is proof. I know what proof is.
Okay. A
Proof is
canceled
when
check
money-
is not enough evidence to support.
Sir, anybody can prepare a copy of a canceled check.
Okay, what about the checks I wrote to her with?
Show me the checks.
You have a copies of, with her name, with her endorsement.
These are copies, sir. I'm
Right.
looking for a bank statement showing me that money actually came out of an account.
Can you ask her if she?
No.
Oh, okay.
I think you're a hustler. She gave you this for $4,500? Money went into your account, $4,500. What did you do with the
Before
money?
that money came out of my account, and I think she will admit that that I wrote those checks to her. She endorsed it.
Yeah, she just explained to me that there was some
Okay.
sort of an arrangement with a second car. Did you
I
buy
do
another
have a-
car at auction?
Yeah, there's another and I have, and she's made that claim before, and I actually have evidence to support otherwise that's not true what she's telling you.
Show me.
Okay.
Well, here I have something, Mr. Ricotta, in June of 2006, made out to cash. It says for Rosie. Who endorsed this?
I did. It's written out as.
So you cashed it, you endorsed it, and you wrote on for Rosie.
No, I wrote out Rosie, and then I endorsed it afterward.
And what did you do with the money?
I gave the money to her.
Did he give you money in June?
No. In fact, I have a bank account statement of the first transaction that I took out $4,000 in May, and that he paid me back the $4,000 with those checks that you see a copy of.
Okay. So you gave him the $4,500 when?
October 4th, 2006.
Well,
My
it was
daughter.
coming up to an anniversary. Would you mind telling me what took you so long?
I originally started suing him in December. At the end of December, I took him to a small claims court.
And what happened?
He did not show up. He claimed he did not receive the notice. So he obtained an attorney. He had the attorney file to set a new court date. So that was successful, and that's what led us to here.
Mr. Ricotta, I'm satisfied that you gave him $4,500. I am now also satisfied that you vigorously pursued the return of your $4,500 2 months after you gave him the $4,500. I mean, I don't understand why he took your money and didn't purchase this car. Is there any reason? Did you break up with him shortly afterwards?
Yes, he felt the day that he came to my house, which was December 1st, 2 days before my daughter's birthday, because I did want it for my daughter's 16th birthday. And even though we had broken up earlier in August, we still remained friendly and we'd see each other now and then. I felt that he felt we were still going to stay together. And
December 1st, he was at your house, and?
December 1st, he came to my house. I said, since you don't have the car in time for my daughter's birthday, I would like the money back. And I asked him if he still had the money. And he basically in turn said I called him a liar and a thief, and he felt disrespected, and he was hurt. He was hurt because that ended the relationship at that point. It was the last time.
Can I add something to that?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, because that's not what happened actually at that time. That night in question, actually, she accused me of stealing money, which I had not done. She was under the influence of prescription, non-prescription medication, and she had a lot of issues, depression, and she was taking it out on me. I mean, I can add a lot more insight, but you know, it's the personal issues that that.
I don't have to go into personal issues.
Right,
All
right.
I have to know is, in my own gut,
Right.
is whether or not I believe, based upon the proof that's been shown to me today, whether or not she gave you $4,500 to go and look for a car for her daughter, and whether or not, because the relationship was over, you failed to return the $4,500. She has proof that she took $4,500 out of her bank. She has proof that that $4,500 found its way within a couple of days to your bank. You say it was the return of a loan. I am not satisfied that there was any loan that you made to her, because you gave me some convoluted story that, quite frankly, even you couldn't follow if you were sitting here. So I am satisfied that you did, in fact, take this money in the quest to buy this young lady a car, and you didn't return it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,500. Thank you. Something else.
And a controller for it, yes.
The defendant acknowledges that he has the equipment. He said it's his. You gave it to him.
Okay.
That's your defense, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Where is it?
It is currently in my possession at my home.
How long do you know the plaintiff?
Mr. McCullough, I met back in November of 2008.
How did you meet him?
I met him through Matthew Clooney, the plaintiff's witness. I'd been in a band with them since early, probably November of 2007.
So you met him through your bandmate?
Yes.
Now, tell me the circumstances of how this perfect stranger to you someone with whom you had no relationship with, no business dealings with, correct? Gave you what he says, valuable pieces of equipment worth in excess of $1,000.
I went to his house with Matt Clooney, and he said Matt had previously called me saying that Mr. McCullough had an amplification system for me to use, and I went to
use an amp system for you to use.
It was given to me, yes.
No, you first said he had an amp system for you to use. Those are the words that you just said. Is that right, sir?
No, ma'am.
No, of course it's right. You want me to play it back for you?
No, thank
What you said was, Matt called you and said that Mr. McCullough had amp equipment for you to use. Then you quickly changed the word use for you to have. But the first word you used was use, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So what did you do?
I took the equipment from Mr. McCullough.
What was the agreement? What did he say to you, and what did you say to him?
Well, when it was given to me or handed over to me, there was no agreement saying that I had to return the equipment.
Tell me what he said to you.
What he said to me was, you can have this equipment and use it, you know, tell me what you think about it, and that was what was said.
Did you use it?
Yes.
Did you tell him what you thought about it?
No, I did not.
Then you have to give it back. He gave it to you to use, and he said to you, I want you to use this and tell me what you think about it. There's your contract, if I believe you. You never told him what you thought about the equipment.
No, I did not.
You got to give it back. Now. The fact that you're angry because you're no longer in the band doesn't mean you don't return the equipment. Do you understand, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Within 5 days, sir, you get your equipment back.
Your Honor, just one quick thing I'd like to interject, if you don't mind.
Sure.
What would be the recourse I'd have the 2 pieces of equipment?
Do you have the 2 pieces of equipment?
Yes, ma'am.
He has them.
Okay.
And they're to be returned to him in good condition. Otherwise, he can bring you back here. Do you understand? You don't want to be back here because you've already embarrassed yourself. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused.
To live with you as a teenager for a period of time. And you continued a relationship with her, according to your complaint, so that she felt comfortable enough to come back into your home subsequently. And you agreed at some point to co-sign for a truck for her so that she would be independent and be able to go to work and go to school and do stuff. So you did. And it was her understanding and your agreement and your contract that she was going to make the payments on this truck. Take your hands out of your pockets. She was going to make the payments on this truck. Well, the defendant did make payments on the truck for a period of time. She met a boy, got married, had a baby, not necessarily in that order, but she and her husband subsequently separated, and she stopped making payments on the truck. Not only did she stop making payments on the truck, but she couldn't find the right place to park, so she got some parking tickets, and ultimately her car was impounded, probably for those parking tickets. You were contacted by the bank, cost you a whole bunch of money to get the car out of towing to pay off the car, and you want her to be responsible and take care of those bills. That's what the case is about.
Correct.
Right?
That's correct.
Go.
I paid on the car for 2 years, paid $3,000 on it. Up until 9/16 was my September, October, November, December. I missed 4 payments in a row.
You missed 4
payments in a row.
Okay. When was the last time you made a payment? In September?
August.
So you missed September?
Yes.
October, November, and December?
Yes.
You missed 4 months.
On Christmas Eve, I thought the vehicle was stolen because I went out to go home for the weekend, and the car was gone. And it was just odd. I thought that they had taken it back because the payments were late, and the night before...
No, they weren't late. They weren't made for 4 months. Late is when you miss a couple of days.
I wasn't working when my husband and I were married. He up and left one day. Since that point, I know it seems like I was irresponsible. Since that point, I got a place to live on my own, by myself, with no financial help.
Well, that is great. Why'd you get parking tickets? Because that's why the car was towed.
Because I parked in the wrong spot.
How many times?
Twice. And then I got another parking lot ticket down the street for being there for a meter or whatever. I got 2 more of those. So I had quite a few parking tickets.
How many?
I think 5 total, maybe 4.
How many?
I have 8
parking tickets.
Different kinds of tickets.
Yes.
Can I see it?
They're listed on the...
And when I found out the car had been taken, I still had 30 days to come up with the money. I called her 4 days later to let her know what happened, and I told her that I would come up with the money to get the car out, and I would do my best to start making payments on it again. She had
Doing
told me
your best doesn't help.
at the
Take your
time
hands out of your pockets. Doing your best doesn't help. I mean, I'm not screaming and ranting and raving at you if your husband left you and left you with a baby and you were trying to get yourself together and you found a place to live, all of that is great. Then what you have to say to her, Ms. Tomir, is, and I know that you're looking upset, but what you have to say to her is, look.
I still had time to make the payments before she made the payments for me.
She's a co-signer on your loan. Her credit is destroyed because you didn't make payments for 4 months.
I still
did
had
you
time.
call?
Yes,
you didn't have. You don't have
did.
time.
The bank said I still had 30 days,
Miss
and so did the
Tomir,
pound place.
you don't have time when you miss payments for 4 months. What you're supposed to do is, if you can, renegotiate with them and say, listen, I can't make these payments. Could I cut them in half? Could I cut them in a quarter? Things are difficult now. But you didn't do that. You didn't do that. And you didn't even call her and tell her that...
I did call her.
Did you call her and tell her you hadn't made the payments September, October,
We talked
November?
many times about it. Yes, we did, because we talked many times, and she's like, Christy, you just need to call him. And I said, I know, I haven't made the payments. And she
Just a
just need to
second.
call him.
I know, I haven't made the payments. That's not what she said to you. She said you have to call them and try to redo something with this loan.
And I did that, and I still had time before she paid up the money.
Just a second. Show me. You show me something in writing that the bank was willing to give you more time after you missed 4 payments. Show me.
They told me I
now,
don't have
don't
that.
tell me what they told you. Show
I don't
me.
have that.
Of course you don't. And now after she got the car out of towing, because I have the bills, she got the car out of towing and she paid the bank off.
So my 30 days
Just
that I have doesn't matter?
Listen to me. I'm not telling you you had 30 days. You can't show me that you had 30 days. Now that she had to get your car out of impound, which cost how much?
$360.
Okay, $360. In addition to what you owed them for 4 months. And the tickets.
Which were $695.
$695 for the tickets. Otherwise, you couldn't get the car out of impound. Do you understand? The likelihood of you having $1,100.
I had that money within 11 days.
$1,100 plus the 4 months that you owe them on the car is little to none.
I had the money to pay it all off within 11 days.
Then you should have paid her.
But I lost thousands of dollars. I'm paying for taxis. I don't have a vehicle. How should I have paid her?
Listen to me. If you had take your hands out of your pockets. If you had said to her before now, what's your first name?
Terry.
Terry, I appreciate everything you did for me. I understand what the problem is. I understand that I screwed up with you. May not have screwed up with other things, but I understand that I screwed up with you and your credit. I can give you $50 a month towards what I owe you for cleaning up after my mess. I don't want you to be out of money. I can't pay you all at once. I have other expenses to pay. I have other bills. I'll give you $50 a month. That's what you should do.
I tried calling her twice, and both times I got hung up on.
What did you say to her when you called?
The first time I called to tell her that the car wasn't stolen, that it had been repossessed, and I told her that within 3 weeks I would be able to get it out. 2 days later, she paid for it all to get out. So I not only lost the car, I lost a lot of money. And then I called her again right after I found out I was getting sued, and I was just like, you're suing me, you haven't even, we can't work this out any other way. And she said, no, we want our money back. You have 30 days to pay us or we're suing you. But I still had time on my account. Within 11 days, I could have had the vehicle out.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,089. That's all.
Party judge number 169 on the calendar in the matter of Greenlee versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Ms. Greenlee, there was a time last year when you and Mr. Smith were employed by the same bus company, a school bus company. And it is your claim that while you were out doing your route, Mr. Smith backed a school bus into your parked car and then took off, damaging your car. You want him to pay for the damage to the car and other related expenses. Mr. Smith says he never touched your car, and he is counterclaiming because he says because you filed these charges against him, he was humiliated at work, he was arrested on the job, and he was ultimately acquitted of those charges. Did you have a trial?
No. The police officer dropped everything.
Okay. And told you to proceed civilly, I assume. So he's got a counterclaim. When did this incident happen with your car?
January 12th of 2004.
And at what time did you leave that day on your bus?
6:30 a.m.
When did you return to the yard?
Approximately 8:15 a.m.
When did you look at your car?
As soon as I got back to the garage.
And what did you discover?
I discovered a dent, and there was rub marks from where my paint had been rubbed off. Of part of
Do you have photographs of it?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see the photographs.
And I also have a videotape of the bus actually hitting the vehicle. videotape.
So your car is red?
No, my car is orange.
Orange?
Yes.
Okay. Orange.
Orange.
I assume before you looked at the video, you conducted your own investigation. According to what I read here, a little bit of an investigation on your own. You went around looking at all the buses.
Yes.
And didn't find any of them with any damage.
No.
So what did you do next?
We went on our afternoon routes. David's the only bus that did not come back to the garage that morning. So when we both drove at the same elementary school. He was off of his bus, and I went and I seen the orange paint and the rub mark on the back of the bus. My husband was actually up at the transportation director's office speaking with him, told him the damages I found.
Okay. Don't tell me what your husband said. That's hearsay. But you saw orange paint on Mr. Smith's bus.
Yes.
Did you speak to him?
No.
All right, Mr. Smith. Now tell me your version of what happened that morning.
I got in my bus around 6:40. I backed my bus up. I had another bus that was to the left of me that I couldn't clear, so I had to get off my bus because my two-way radio did not work on my bus. Got off my bus, went and asked the backup so I could go around. I did my route.
So it's your claim that at no time did you hit Miss Greenlee's car?
No, ma'am.
Now, you were subsequently arrested?
The police come to my work to arrest me for hit and run, but my boss asked them before they arrested me to go and watch the videotape at the transportation office. So my two bosses, the transportation director, the police officer, and myself, all went down. We watched the videotape. The police officer watched the tape twice. He come out, told me he was not going to arrest me.
Just a second, did you watch the tape with him?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, what do you mean he came out and told you? What is
He
that?
watched it twice. The first time we watched it together.
Yes.
The second time he watched it with the transportation director. Then he come out and said he was not going to arrest me. He was not going to write me a citation, that he would let the insurance companies deal with it.
Okay, can I see the videotape, please?
As you can see, David's entering the bus. Starts backing up. He's having trouble maneuvering the bus back. Stops, he pulls up. As you can see, my vehicle to the left. He keeps
That's your
backing.
car? Is that
yes.
your car?
Yes. He keeps backing.
But there was no
There is
contact made.
point of impact. Pulls the emergency brake. Apparently gets off of the bus for 14 seconds to see what he has hit.
Well, there's certainly a shadow back there now that I see.
Yes. Gets back on the bus and proceeds to take off.
Okay, if I hit the vehicle, why do I sit there for 30 seconds before I pull off?
What are you asking me a question for, Mr. Smith? That wasn't a bus back there. That was a car.
Yes.
What you told me a moment ago, Mr. Smith, was that there was a bus behind you. There was a bus that prohibited you from making a turn. You got off and you spoke to the bus driver and asked her to move. I saw no other bus back there,
The bus
sir.
was to my left.
I saw a car that you came dangerously close to if you didn't hit it.
Yes, ma'am. What I'm saying is I couldn't make my clearance. That's when I got off my bus to go ask the lady if she could back up so I could go and make my clearance to the left.
Not a big deal, Mr. Smith. You just should have accepted responsibility and said, it was a total accident. I didn't mean to hit your car. I will certainly pay for the damage. And we finished with it. Instead
I
of
didn't
making...
hit her.
You did! You hit her car.
No, I did not.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Unfortunately, we have electronics to establish it.
If you look at the tape like the police officer did, you will see I did not hit her car.
You think his eyes are better than mine?
No, you just have to pay close attention to the tape.
Sir, you have something from the police officer that says that you didn't hit her car?
No, ma'am.
You have a statement from the police officer, even though it's hearsay, which says, listen, tell your insurance companies to take care of it. This isn't worth my arresting you for hit and run. Nobody was injured. You're two reasonable people, working people. Let your insurance companies take care of it. That's what the police officer said. He didn't say that you didn't hit her car. Okay, can I see your estimates on having your car fixed, please? Did you have your car fixed?
Yes, I did.
Good. You're not working for the same bus company anymore?
No, ma'am.
Right, good. What year car was this?
2003. I purchased it 6 months prior to it being hit.
Did you receive insurance coverage for it?
Yes. My insurance company paid for it because approximately 14 days after the accident, The bus company's insurance said they could not find who was at fault because they never requested the tape.
Well, what was your deductible?
$450. And then I also had to get a rental car, and that total was $138.57. And I have my
Why are
credit
you
card.
suing him for $5,000?
For the deductible, the rental car, the actual damages to pay back the insurance company because my rates are going up because of the accident, and also $2,801.94 in punitive damages for the stress, the mental anguish that I went through over a year and a half of dealing with this incident.
Unfortunately, you don't get paid for that. So your deductible was $450?
Yes.
And you rented a car for $138?
Yes.
It's $588. Could have resolved the whole thing.
I don't owe her a dime.
You do too.
I do
You
not.
hit her car.
I did not hit her car.
And it may, Mr. Smith, be giving you the benefit of the doubt, because this didn't look to me as if this was this kind of crash. It looked as if the bus was going very slowly, and maybe you just eased into it with the bumper.
But if you could see the damage, even if I eased into it, it's not going to cause that much damage.
You have an expert that's going to testify to that, sir?
I can get one.
What did you think you were coming here for, a tea party today? This is it. You've been hucking around with this lady for well over a year.
No,
Pay her the $588. That's what you owe her. You were wrong. Say, I was wrong, I'm sorry. I know that that's sometimes hard, but that's what men do. I'm sorry, I was wrong. I should have resolved it then. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may...
He, I made that clear. My name is Lee, and my pronoun is he. And
I didn't see
DOI.
that. I have Lisa.
Yeah, also known as Lee Ikuzi.
Okay.
I'm a trans.
It is your claim that the defendant assaulted you, Mr. Ikuzi, and the defendant says that quite the contrary, it was you who assaulted him. How do you know each other?
I met Dean Pottle when I was the Portland International Hostel manager, and I was in charge of the facilities at the time, and I also lived there. Dean came to my residence at the hostel looking for work. He was actually homeless at the time, and I took him in.
All right, so that's how you met him.
Yep.
When did this alleged assault take place?
April 2nd, 2005.
Tell me the circumstances, please.
I had a business transaction with Dean Pottle that failed. He was supposed to do a plumbing job for me in exchange for me mowing a lawn for him. I also had $1,000 with the oil paintings in his house that we were going to exchange for him to do plumbing services. I went over to his house 2 times. Both times I brought my witness, and on the second time I was assaulted.
Tell me how you were assaulted.
I brought my friend Buddy. There was a driveway that separated Buddy, Dean, and myself. I was leaning back on the car that was separated about 4 feet of driveway to Dean's house. Dean was arguing with Buddy. I told Dean that I was going to tell everybody that he's bisexual, and he ran 2 big full steps. Pushed his arm, swung me around into the car.
Just a minute, you went very quickly.
Yes.
You said you ran 2 steps?
No, I was leaning against the car here, and there was Dean's house.
Just a second. First you threatened to tell people that he was a bisexual?
Right, because he harassed me.
How was he harassing you when you came to his house?
I was at his house to collect money and my oil paintings.
I didn't hear how he was harassing you.
He harassed me 3 days before, and I was still upset about the incident. And
How did he harass you 3 days before?
I was at his house. I was massaging his hands. He went into the bathroom to take off his shirt to massage his shoulders. He came out butt naked and asked me to play with his...
So then why would you go back to his house?
Well, I brought a witness with me because I had $1,000 worth of paintings that
Did you get your
brokered.
paintings?
The second time that I arrived at the defendant's house, I did get my paintings.
Then what I'm asking you is, why did you have any exchange with him at all if you had your paintings?
On the day, within the hour of the assault, at the beginning of the assault, I came in, brought a friend, asked him to go get my paintings, which I needed.
So we went and got your paintings?
Right. While I was getting my paintings, Dean came outside.
Just a second. Your paintings are in the car? If all 3 of you were there...
Paintings are in the car.
So now they're in the car?
Right.
Why aren't you in the car leaving?
Because he owes me more money. He owes me money.
Untrue.
He owes money from doing a plumbing job that he refuses to pay me. So I'm asking for my money. He refuses to pay me.
Put your hand down, please.
He refuses to pay me. And we have a verbal exchange. We've been friends for 7 years. I was really upset at what he did to me. I'm going through this transition. I felt he was taking advantage of me.
Keep going.
And words were exchanged. He walked 2 steps up to me and pushed me into a car. I swung back and got him off me.
When you swung back, you hit him.
Well, he was on top of me. He was on top of me. He pushed me into a car, and he was on top of me.
How was he on top of you?
I have fingerprints. He pushed me like this, and he was on top of me right here when he pushed me. I leaned back, and I hit him.
I only defended myself.
Let me hear what happened, sir.
Well, when I followed him out with the paintings, and the car was out on the street, and I stood back at my driveway, probably 20 feet away from the car. When he went toward the car to put the paintings in the street, she came out of the vehicle and came toward me. Now, she was nowhere near a vehicle. Now, she came toward me very aggressively and yelling profanities and everything else, so I instinctively put my hand out to defend myself. And when she came close to me, I went like this and said, "Get out of Portland," because I felt she didn't belong in our environment there. And I turned to look at him, and he says, "Oh, you touched her first." And when I looked back, she went, bam, like this, right against my lip here. And I staggered back, yelled at me, and that's when she left.
First of all, sit up. Second of all, don't speak until I speak to you. Okay. Do you have a photograph of your injury?
No, I don't.
Do you have a photograph of your injury?
I have documentation of medical records.
I'd like to see it, please. Now you can step up, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Tell me your name.
My name is Buddy Bercu.
Spell your last name.
B-E-R-C-U. It's Romanian.
Left hand, left arm,
Kind of
Bruce.
difficult the first time. Anyways.
All right, now I ask questions.
Okay, yes, go ahead.
I ask questions.
Please.
The paintings are in the car.
Okay, the paintings are in the car. I come back. He comes out, and the car is parked right by the driveway.
Who's in the car?
No one's in the car. They're both arguing with each other, and I'm like, okay, let them vent a little bit and get some of this out, because
Just a second.
I
Where
don't want to
were they
intervene.
as you were putting the paint? I'm speaking. You're not paying attention
When they
to
were
me.
putting the paintings were already in the car, you said.
Listen to me.
Okay,
Listen. Try
I'm trying.
putting on your listening ears.
I will.
You're putting the paintings in the car,
That's correct.
and he's letting you take the paintings.
That's correct.
Now, the last of the paintings is in the car, right?
That's correct.
Why didn't you both get in the car and leave?
Because, Your Honor, this isn't about that. It's about the disrespect and the way that the abuse had gone down in the first place, and he had not
You're
said he
talking
was
about
sorry.
this incident 3 days before that Lee has just described to me.
Apparently, Lee hadn't worked through the whole incident yet, Your Honor.
Then he was angry.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Got it. See how easy it is to get to the truth?
Can I give you some more truth, or do you want?
Can I get to the truth?
Be quiet.
Absolutely. Can you give me some more bald facts, sir?
Yes, sir.
I
Yes, ma'am.
determine what the truth is.
I understand that.
You understand?
You're the judge.
Okay. So far, we have somebody who wanted their paintings, made 3 trips, got the paintings, but according to you and your Lee's witness, Lee wasn't finished being angry about something that happened 3 days before and wanted an apology.
That's correct, Your Honor.
I got
And then what happened was he said, instead of, "I have a restraining order on you," or "get out of my property," he said, "get out of Portland," which I thought was a little bit wide of a swath for his powers. I mean, Portland's a big
Yes.
place. Then he approached, what he did was he just said, basically, "Get out of Portland, get out of Portland." And the third "get out of Portland," he rushed like he was doing a shot put. And just the whole body, everything came through, but not upward, but straight, like a thrust, and hit. And I could see that she grimaced in pain, and she was crying out. And then what happened simply is a counterattack just to save face. Because I would imagine transitioning to become a man, you have to prove to other men you're a man. So that's why I stayed away from this up until this point. I didn't feel there was any danger up to that point where I had to intervene. I got some heat for that. Say, well, I should have just kicked his, I wasn't going to do that. So anyway, I don't think violence solves anything. And at any rate, what happened was he said, "You can't hit me," or "You can't hit me, I'll kill you," or something. I don't remember what it was exactly. Something to that effect. Just was really surprised that Lee would counterattack. And then I just stepped in and said, "Look, you hit Lee first." And just kind of diffuse him.
Did you see his bloody lip?
No, he had no bloody lip. There was no. It was the hand. She was like, like this, because it was not a closed fist. And I never use a fist because you could not close
I
it.
might ask interested whether you use a fist.
But
or
I'm
not.
just saying, you can hurt
I'm
your
not
hands.
interested. Shh. I'm not interested in whether you use a fist or not. It's not
Yes, ma'am.
particularly relevant here.
I want you to stop. You're going to be making a fool of yourself. I want you to stop.
Shh.
I apologize.
You're killing me.
When was the first time that you were prescribed Vicodin?
I've had an ongoing neck and condition
Right. I see
since
that. So you had all kinds of problems that you were prescribed Vicodin for and all kinds of other pain medication.
Right.
Listen, you both behaved badly. You're not supposed to hit.
क्या हुआ तेरा वादा वो कसम वो इरादा भूलेगा दिन जिस दिन तुम्हें वो दिन जिंदगी का आखिरी दिन होगा क्या हुआ तेरा वादा याद है मुझको। हेलो एवरीवन, तो कैसा लगा आपको मेरा सॉन्ग? सभी लोग लाइक फॉलो शेयर करना ना भूले, ठीक है। याद है मुझको तूने कहा था, ठीक है भाई साहब। आप वीडियो डालेंगे ऐसे ही, ठीक है। ये जस्ट जूडी पुड़ी क्या है पता नहीं, मैं इसको लाइक वाइक करो, इसको फॉलो वॉलो करो, हैं सब्सक्राइब को, ठीक है भाई साहब। ओके भाई साहब, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, थैंक यू भाई साहब।